Going through that stage in a relationship where all you do is argue is one of the worst feelings in the world. Because it's not like you stopped loving them. It's not like you don't care. You still want to be with them. You still want to talk to them, laugh with them, spend time with them. But for some reason, you just can't see eye to eye anymore. She doesn't understand you. You don't understand her. And every conversation turns into tension. Every small thing becomes a problem. So now y'all are distant, not on the phone like you used to be, not checking in the same way, not feeling connected the way you once did. And what hurts the most is knowing they probably don't even realize how much this is breaking you inside, how unhappy you are, how badly you just want them to understand your side, the way you're trying to understand theirs. This is the stage where most people give up. They start thinking, maybe this person isn't the one for me. But that's not the truth. Every real relationship goes through moments like this, moments where communication feels impossible, moments where love feels buried under frustration, moments where both people are tired, misunderstood, and hurt. That doesn't mean you leave. That doesn't mean you stop trying. That doesn't mean the love isn't real. Love isn't only the easy days, not just laughing and being happy all the time. Pushing through the rough moments together instead of walking away when things get uncomfortable. Every road gets rocky, every path gets hard, but if you keep walking, eventually you hit smoother ground. The arguing won't last forever, the distance won't last forever, the sun does come back out, but too many people quit right before things start getting better. They leave when saving the relationship was still within reach. So don't give up on someone you love just because things are hard right now. Go through the struggle with them, grow through the pain together, because the relationships that last aren't the ones that never argue. They're the ones that choose each other, even when it hurts. Let's switch places for a second. You wait, and I never show up. No explanation, no closure, just distance that keeps growing. At first, you tell yourself it's nothing. They're busy. Life happens. You don't want to seem dramatic, so you wait a little longer. Then a little longer than that, you start checking your phone without realizing it. Every vibration feels like it might be me. Every hour that passes feels heavier than the last, and somehow you convince yourself that hoping hurts less than letting go. You replay old conversations just to remind yourself it was real. You reread messages that once made you feel chosen, even though now they feel empty, like echoes of something that died quietly. You wonder if you said something wrong, if you asked for too much, if being patient somehow turned into being disposable. That's the part no one talks about. The waiting doesn't just hurt, it changes you. It makes you doubt your worth. It teaches you to accept less than you deserve, because at least less feels better than nothing. I waited for you like it was part of my routine, morning, night, every space in between, waiting for your name to light up my screen, waiting for proof that I still mattered to you, waiting for effort you never planned to give, and the hardest truth, deep down, I think you already knew you weren't coming back. You just let me keep waiting anyway. So if we switch roles, maybe then you'd understand the real heartbreak isn't being left, it's being the one who stayed, holding space for someone who had already decided to walk away, because loving someone who disappears teaches you a pain no apology can undo, and hoping for someone who's already gone slowly teaches you how to break your own heart. You wanted her. There's no point pretending otherwise. You didn't just like her, you imagined a future with her. You pictured small moments turning into something bigger, late nights, shared laughs, quiet mornings. You replayed conversations in your head, wondering what they meant, wondering what could have been. And somewhere along the way, you gave more than you should have, not because you were weak, but because you cared deeply. And that's the part that hurts first. Losing someone you imagined a future with doesn't just sting, it shakes you. Missing someone who no longer misses you back feels heavy in a way that's hard to explain. But here's the truth that takes time to settle in. Missing someone doesn't mean you need them. And needing someone who could walk away without looking back isn't love. It's you slowly forgetting your own worth. When you pour everything into someone, you start shrinking yourself without realizing it. You start waiting for replies, waiting for effort, waiting for reassurance that should never have been questioned. You begin measuring your value by how much they choose you, and that's where you lose yourself. Not because you love too hard, but because you love someone who couldn't meet you where you stood. Think about it. Before she entered your life, you existed fully. You had goals, motivation, passions, and a sense of direction. She didn't create those things. She didn't complete you. She simply became a part of your story for a moment. And when that moment ended, it felt like something was taken from you. But nothing essential was ever removed. What you lost was attachment, not identity. You might still care. You might still think about her. That doesn't disappear overnight. Healing isn't about pretending you feel nothing. It's about understanding that love should never make you feel like you're begging to be chosen. The right person doesn't make you question your value or wonder where you stand. They don't leave you confused, waiting, or doubting yourself. So yes, it hurts, and it's okay to admit that, but remind yourself of this: you don't need someone who made you feel replaceable. You don't need someone who couldn't show up the way you did. What you need is to return to yourself, to remember who you were before you started chasing someone who couldn't give you the love you deserved. Because the right connection doesn't drain you, it meets you with clarity, effort, and consistency. And until that shows up, choosing yourself isn't a loss. It's the beginning of getting your power back. She replaced me in a week, 7 days. And I've replayed that number in my head more times than I'd like to admit. Because when something you invested months, maybe years, into gets swapped out in 7 days, it doesn't just hurt, it destabilizes you. It makes you question your perception, it makes you question your value, it makes you question whether what you had was ever real in the first place. I keep thinking about how we ended the conversations, the tone, the way she said she needed time, the way she said she had to focus on herself. And then a week later, there's someone else standing where I used to stand. So what was the truth? Was she grieving while I was still loving? Was she detaching while I was trying? Was I the only one still emotionally present toward the end? Because you don't replace someone in a week unless you were already halfway gone. That's the part that keeps echoing in my mind. You don't wake up on Monday heartbroken and by Sunday decide you're ready for someone new. That's not healing, that's transition. And if she transitioned that smoothly, that quickly, then maybe I wasn't as permanent in her world as she was in mine. And that realization stings more than the breakup itself, because breakups hurt. But being replaced fast, that attacks your identity. It makes you feel temporary. It makes you feel interchangeable. It makes you feel like you were just holding a spot until something better came along. And I hate that my mind even goes there. But when someone replaces you in a week, you start asking dangerous questions. Was I not enough? Was I boring? Was I too available? Did she already have him lined up? Was I just comfortable, not essential? And the scary part is, your brain doesn't just ask those questions, it starts believing them. You start comparing yourself to someone you don't even know. You start imagining that he must have something you didn't. More excitement, more dominance, more money, more mystery, more something. And now it feels like you lost a competition you didn't even know you were in. But love was never supposed to be competitive. It was supposed to be intentional, chosen, protected. And if she could swap me out in 7 days, then maybe what we had wasn't as protected as I thought. Maybe I was fighting for something that was already slipping away. Maybe I was loving someone who had already emotionally exited. And that's the part that hurts the most. Not that she found someone new, but that she found someone new that quickly, because that speed tells a story. And I'm still trying to figure out what that story says about me. I think what really messed with me wasn't just that she replaced me, it was how effortless it looked, how natural she made it seem. Like I was just a chapter she flipped past without rereading. Because I'm still here sitting with it, still replaying the last conversations in my head, still wondering if I missed signs, still trying to understand where it actually started falling apart, and she's already smiling next to someone new. That kind of speed doesn't just hurt, it humiliates you. It makes you feel like you were the only one emotionally invested at the end. Like while you were trying to fix it, she was already detaching. Like while you were thinking, we just need time, she was thinking, I need someone else. And the scariest part, I don't know which version of reality is true. Was she already talking to him before we ended? Was I slowly being phased out while I was still trying to show up? Or did she just move on that fast because she can't be alone? Every scenario hurts in a different way. If she was already lining him up, then I was loving someone who was preparing my replacement. If she just needed validation that quickly, then I was never the emotional anchor I thought I was. And if she genuinely didn't feel anything after it ended, then maybe I meant less than I believed. That's what a 1-week replacement does to your mind. It makes you question the entire foundation. You start rewriting memories. That time she seemed distant, that time she picked a fight out of nowhere, That time she said she felt confused, now they don't feel random anymore. Now they feel like early signs of an exit. And the worst part is realizing that you might have been the only one still emotionally inside the relationship toward the end, because you can't replace someone in a week unless you were already halfway gone. And that's the sentence that keeps echoing. Halfway gone. Maybe she left emotionally months ago. Maybe I was loving someone who had already checked out. Maybe the breakup wasn't the beginning of the end. Maybe it was just the announcement, and that realization shifts the pain, because now it's not just heartbreak, it's feeling blindsided, it's feeling like you were operating on outdated information, like you thought you were both building, but she was already packing. And I hate that this makes me question my value, because logically, I know someone moving on fast doesn't define me, but emotionally, it feels like it does. It feels like I was replaceable, interchangeable, temporary, and nobody wants to feel temporary in something they treated as permanent. I keep thinking about how deeply I committed, how I shut down distractions, how I defended her when people doubted us, how I chose her repeatedly. And now it feels like I was the only one guarding something she was willing to trade. That's what makes it feel unfair. Not that she moved on, but that she moved on like it was easy, like I was just space that needed to be filled. And that's the dangerous thought, because I wasn't just space, I was time, I was effort, I was loyalty, I was presence. And if she could replace all of that in 7 days, then either she never fully valued it, or she never fully processed it. And I don't know which one hurts more, because if she didn't value it, then I misjudged everything. And if she didn't process it, then she's just distracting herself. But distraction still feels like replacement when you're the one left behind. And I'm left here trying to rebuild confidence that got shaken by a 7-day timeline, trying to remind myself that speed doesn't equal significance, trying to remember that depth doesn't get erased overnight, because if what we had was real to me, then it was real, even if she replaced it quickly. But still, 7 days. That number doesn't just represent time, it represents how fast someone can move on when you thought you meant more. And I'm still trying to figure out what that says about her and what it doesn't say about me. The part nobody prepares you for is how fast replacement attacks your confidence, not just your feelings, your confidence, because heartbreak hurts your chest, but being replaced quickly hits your ego. And ego isn't pride, ego is identity. It's how you see yourself. And when someone moves on in a week, your brain starts filling in blanks you never wanted to think about. You start comparing yourself to someone you don't even know. What does he have that I don't? Is he more exciting, more unpredictable, more emotionally unavailable, more dominant, more detached? Did she need someone less steady, less serious, less invested? You start dissecting yourself like you were the problem to be solved. And that's dangerous, because now it's not just about her moving on, it's about you feeling like you lost to someone else, like this was a competition, like you were weighed against another option and didn't measure up. But here's the part that doesn't get talked about. If someone can replace you in a week, they didn't replace you. They replaced the role, they replaced the attention, they replaced the space, they replaced the feeling of not being alone. But connection, real connection, that doesn't get swapped that quickly. You can substitute company, you can substitute validation, but you can't duplicate depth overnight. And I have to keep reminding myself of that, because when you see them laughing together, posting together, looking comfortable together, your mind doesn't care about logic. It sees images and it translates them into meaning. They're happier. She upgraded. You weren't enough. But images don't show history. They don't show inside jokes. They don't show late night vulnerability. They don't show how deeply you invested. They show a moment, and moments are easy to manufacture. Depth takes time, and if she replaced me in 7 days, then either she had already emotionally left long before we officially ended, or she doesn't process loss the way I do. And both are hard to accept, because if she left emotionally before I did, then I was loving someone who was already gone. And if she doesn't process loss deeply, then I was loving someone who doesn't sit with pain. She escapes it. And escape looks like replacement when you're the one grieving. I won't lie though. Part of what hurts is feeling disposable, like I was just a chapter, like I was just a phase, like I was someone she needed for that season. And once it was over, I was easy to move past. But here's what I'm starting to understand. People who move on that quickly aren't necessarily healed. They're avoiding, they're filling silence, they're covering discomfort because sitting alone after a breakup is uncomfortable. It forces reflection, it forces accountability, it forces grief. And not everyone has the emotional discipline to sit with that. Some people run straight into the next distraction, not because the previous person meant nothing, but because feeling nothing feels easier than feeling everything. And I need to remember that her timeline isn't a measurement of my worth. It's a reflection of her coping style. Still, that doesn't erase the sting, because I'm still here thinking about what we had, still processing, still grieving, still reconstructing my confidence, and she's already building something new. That imbalance feels unfair, like I'm stuck in emotional traffic while she sped through the exit ramp, and maybe that's the hardest pill to swallow. Not that she found someone else, but that she found someone else while I'm still untangling myself from what we were. It makes you feel behind, like you're losing, like you're weaker for caring longer, but caring longer isn't weakness, it's depth, and depth doesn't reset in 7 days. So maybe the real truth is this: she replaced the position, but she didn't replace the impact. And if what we had was real to me, then it mattered, even if she chose not to sit in it, even if she chose speed over reflection, because I would rather be the one who feels deeply than the one who forgets quickly. 7 days might look like replacement, but sometimes it's just avoidance in disguise. And one day, when the distraction fades, she might finally sit with what I've been sitting with this whole time, and by then I'll be further ahead emotionally than she ever was, not because I moved on faster, but because I actually processed it. And that's something nobody can replace in a week. The worst part about her replacing me in a week isn't even the new guy, it's the silence that came with it, because when someone moves on that fast, they don't just leave you, they erase you, the calls stop, the inside jokes disappear, the routine you built together vanishes, and suddenly the person who used to know your schedule, your moods, your patterns is giving that attention to someone else. That's what makes it feel unreal, because it's not just that she found someone new, it's that she redirected everything so easily. The same energy, the same time, the same effort, just different face. And that's when your mind spirals into the dangerous place. If she can give someone else what she gave me that quickly, was it ever special? That question hits hard, because we don't just want to be loved, we want to feel irreplaceable. We want to feel like what we built had weight, like it left a mark, like it couldn't just be swapped out like a profile picture. And when she replaced me in 7 days, it felt like I was lightweight, like I was something she could carry easily and set down just as easily. But here's the thing I keep wrestling with. Maybe it wasn't easy. Maybe it just looks easy. Social media never shows grief. It doesn't show reflection. It doesn't show confusion. It shows highlights. And maybe what I'm seeing is the highlight reel of her coping, because moving on quickly doesn't always mean you didn't care. Sometimes it means you can't sit still with pain. Sometimes it means you need distraction to avoid accountability. Sometimes it means you'd rather build something new than examine why the last thing broke. But none of that makes it easier to watch, because while she's building new memories, I'm still dismantling old ones. I'm still processing the last conversation, still remembering the way she used to look at me, still trying to figure out when it started fading. And that imbalance makes you feel like you lost twice. You lost the relationship, and you lost the race to move on. And I hate that it feels like a race, because healing shouldn't be competitive. But when someone replaces you in a week, it feels like you're the only one still standing in the wreckage, like she walked away from the crash without even looking back, and you're still checking for broken pieces. What hurts even more is knowing I didn't have a backup. I didn't have someone lined up. I didn't have a just in case. When we ended, it was just me in the silence, and I chose to sit in it, not because I wanted to suffer, but because I respect what we had enough to process it properly. So when she jumped into something new that fast, it felt like I was the only one honoring the history, like I was the only one treating it like it mattered, and that's a lonely feeling. To believe something was significant and watch the other person treat it like it was temporary. But maybe the truth is simpler. Maybe she didn't replace me. Maybe she replaced the feeling of being alone. Maybe she replaced the discomfort. Maybe she replaced the emptiness, because some people don't know how to sit with themselves after something ends. They need noise. They need attention. They need someone new to prove they're still wanted, and if that's the case, then her moving on in a week says more about her relationship with silence than it does about my value. Still, that doesn't stop the thoughts, because at night, logic fades and emotion gets loud. In those moments, it feels like I wasn't enough. Like if I had been better, stronger, more exciting, more something, she wouldn't have moved on that fast. But I have to remind myself, you can be enough for someone and still not be there forever. You can love someone deeply and still not be what they're built to keep. And if she could replace me in 7 days, then maybe I wasn't meant to stay in her life long term. Maybe I was a lesson. Maybe she was mine. But what I refuse to accept is that I was insignificant, because I know how I loved, I know how I showed up, I know how I committed, and those things don't become meaningless just because someone else moved quickly. If anything, they prove something about me, that I invest fully, that I don't keep backups, that I don't treat people like placeholders. And maybe that's rare. Maybe that's why this hurts more, because I wasn't halfway in. I was all the way in. And when you're all the way in, being replaced feels like being erased, but I'm not erased. I'm just healing at a pace that reflects depth, and depth doesn't reset in 7 days. So yeah, she replaced me in a week, but that week doesn't define my worth. It defines her coping speed. And one day when she finally slows down, she might realize you can replace a person's position, but you can't replace the way they loved you. And that's something no one swaps out in 7 days. There's a different kind of pain that comes from being replaced quickly. It's not just heartbreak, it's humiliation. And I don't mean humiliation in a loud, dramatic way. I mean the quiet kind, the kind where you sit alone thinking, how did I not see this coming? Because when someone moves on in a week, it makes you question your awareness. Were there signs I ignored? Did she emotionally detach months before I noticed? Was I holding on to something that was already slipping through my hands? And that's the part that messes with your head the most. Because now it's not just about losing her. It's about doubting yourself, your intuition, your judgment, your ability to read people. You start replaying moments that once felt normal. That random argument, that night she seemed distant, that time she picked up her phone and turned it away slightly, that period where she felt off but said she was fine. At the time, you trusted her words. Now you question everything, because if she replaced you in 7 days, your brain automatically assumes she had a head start. And whether that's true or not, the damage is the same. It makes you feel like you were the only one fully in it, like you were the only one fighting for something she had already decided to let go of. And that imbalance feels like betrayal, even if technically it wasn't, because the emotional timing didn't match. You were still invested, she was already transitioning, and that creates this gap, a painful one, where you're grieving something she already processed, or avoided, or replaced, and it makes you feel late, like you're the last one to realize the relationship was over. And I hate that feeling, because I don't like feeling behind. I don't like feeling like I was operating with outdated information. I don't like feeling like I was loving someone who had already emotionally packed their bags, but maybe that's the reality. Maybe the breakup wasn't the beginning of her detachment. Maybe it was the end of it. Maybe she had already done her grieving while I was still trying to fix things. And that realization hurts in a different way. Because now it's not just that she moved on fast, it's that she moved on before I even knew we were done. And I'm stuck here wondering when it actually ended. Was it weeks before the breakup? Months? Did she slowly disconnect while I was still showing up? Because that's the part nobody prepares you for. The possibility that you were loving someone who was already halfway gone. And if that's true, then I wasn't replaced in a week. I was replaced long before that. I just didn't know it yet. But here's the thing, I'm slowly starting to understand. Even if she emotionally left before I did, that doesn't make me weak. It doesn't make me naive. It means I was committed. It means I was still trying. It means I was operating in good faith, and I'd rather be the one who stayed genuine than the one who quietly exited without saying it, because I know how I loved. I didn't keep options open. I didn't emotionally detach while pretending everything was fine. I didn't start building something new while something old was still alive. When I was in it fully. And if she replaced me in a week, then that says something about her capacity to detach, not about my capacity to matter. Still, that week will probably always sting, not because of the new guy, but because of what it symbolized. How quickly someone can shift focus, how fast attention can be redirected, how easy it can look to replace what felt permanent. But maybe permanence isn't about how long something lasts, maybe it's about how deeply it was felt. And if I'm still here processing it while she moved on fast, then maybe I was the one who felt it deeper. And that doesn't make me the loser. It makes me the one who actually experienced it. 7 days might have been enough for her to move forward, but it's not enough to erase what I gave, and I refuse to let her timeline rewrite my value, because being replaced quickly hurts, but being genuine never does. There's something else that hurts about being replaced in a week. It makes you question whether you were ever chosen or just convenient, because if someone can transition that smoothly, that fast, it starts to feel like you were just occupying space, like you weren't irreplaceable, like you were temporary comfort, and nobody wants to feel like temporary comfort. I keep thinking about the way she used to look at me, the way she said things like, I don't see myself with anyone else, the way she made it seem like what we had was rare, and now I'm sitting here wondering how rare something can really be if it can be replaced in 7 days. That's what makes it sting, because rarity isn't supposed to be swappable, depth isn't supposed to be interchangeable. If something is special, it's supposed to leave a gap when it's gone. But her life doesn't look like there was a gap, it looks filled immediately. And that creates this internal conflict. Was I overestimating my importance? Did I romanticize something that was lighter to her than it was to me? Because when you care deeply, you assume the other person feels the same weight. You assume the attachment is mutual. You assume the history matters equally. But being replaced quickly makes you realize something uncomfortable. Not everyone feels at the same depth you do. Some people attach fast and detach faster. Some people build quickly and rebuild quicker. Some people don't see relationships as something sacred. They see them as something seasonal. And maybe that's the difference between us. Maybe I treat connection like something that deserves reverence, and she treats it like something that deserves momentum, because momentum doesn't stop, it just redirects, and that's exactly what she did. She redirected. The same attention, the same affection, the same emotional energy, just different recipient, and that's hard to swallow because it makes you feel like the container didn't matter, just the feeling. But here's the part I'm slowly realizing. If someone can redirect their attachment that fast, then maybe what they were attached to wasn't you. It was the feeling of being with someone. And that's not the same thing. There's a difference between loving a person and loving the experience of not being alone. And if she loved the experience more than she loved me, then of course she could replace me quickly, because she wasn't replacing a soul connection, she was replacing the role. And that hurts, but it also clarifies, because I don't want to be someone's role. I don't want to be someone's emotional placeholder. I don't want to be someone's for now. I want to be chosen with intention, held with depth, missed when I'm gone. And if she could swap me out in a week, then maybe I wasn't held the way I thought I was. But that doesn't mean I wasn't valuable. It just means she didn't hold me deeply. And those are two different things. Still, there's something about the speed that keeps echoing. 7 days. It makes it feel like I didn't leave a mark, like I didn't leave impact, like I didn't leave space. But I know that's not true, because impact isn't measured by how long someone stays single. It's measured by what they learned, what they felt, what they carry forward. And even if she doesn't feel it now, one day when the distraction fades, when the excitement settles, when she's sitting in quiet, she might finally process what she skipped, and by then I won't be waiting. Because here's what I'm starting to understand. Being replaced quickly doesn't mean you were insignificant. It means the other person couldn't sit with loss, and loss reveals maturity. If I'm still here processing, still reflecting, still rebuilding, then I'm not behind, I'm just doing it properly. 7 days might have been enough for her to move forward, but it's not enough to erase who I was, and I refuse to let her timeline determine my value, because I wasn't just someone she dated, I was someone who showed up fully, and that doesn't become meaningless just because someone else showed up faster. She replaced me in a week, but that week says more about her relationship with discomfort than it does about my worth. There's another layer to this that I don't talk about out loud. Anger, not loud anger, not screaming or crashing out. The quiet kind. The kind that sits in your chest when you realize how easily someone redirected what you treated like sacred. Because I stayed loyal, I stayed committed, I stayed focused, and she moved on in 7 days. That makes you question fairness. It makes you feel like you played the game honestly while someone else was already preparing their next move. And I hate that it feels like a game, because I never approached it like one. When I was with her, I wasn't scanning the room for upgrades, I wasn't entertaining backups, I wasn't lining up options just in case. I was in it, fully, and now I'm sitting here realizing she either wasn't or she detached long before I knew. And that's what builds resentment. The idea that I was emotionally present while she was emotionally preparing. Because now it feels like I was loyal to a version of her that didn't exist anymore, like I was committed to something she had already mentally ended, and that realization stings. But here's where it shifts, because the anger starts turning into clarity. If she could replace me that quickly, then she was already disconnecting. And if she was already disconnecting, then the relationship wasn't as mutual as I believed. And if it wasn't mutual, then I wasn't losing someone who was fully invested. I was losing someone who was already halfway out. That doesn't make it hurt less, but it reframes it, because now it's not about me being not enough. It's about her not being anchored. Anchored people don't drift that fast. Anchored people don't swap attachments like playlists. Anchored people sit with loss, and if she didn't sit with it, then maybe she never held it deeply. And that realization hurts, but it also frees me, because I don't want someone who can replace depth with distraction. I don't want someone who needs constant attention to feel stable. I want someone who values history, who respects connection, who understands that what you build with someone isn't disposable. And if she replaced me in a week, then maybe I was disposable to her. But that doesn't mean I'm disposable in general. It just means she wasn't built to keep me. And there's a difference. Still, there's a part of me that wonders if she ever thinks about it, if she ever pauses, if she ever compares, if she ever realizes how fast she moved. But I can't live in that space, because waiting for someone to feel what you felt is a trap, and I refuse to trap myself in her timeline. 7 days, that's how fast she moved. But here's the truth. I'd rather take my time healing than rush into something new just to prove I can. I'd rather rebuild properly than distract myself temporarily, because I know what I gave and I know how I showed up. And I know I don't need to rush into something new to validate that. She replaced me in a week, but I'm rebuilding myself at a pace that lasts, and that's not weakness, that's depth. You know what else being replaced in a week does? It makes you question whether you were ever truly seen. Because if someone really sees you, your patterns, your effort, your loyalty, your depth, they don't just slide into something new like you were a temporary rental. They feel the absence, they sit in it, they notice the difference, and I keep wondering if she noticed the quiet after I stopped calling, if she noticed the lack of consistency I used to bring, if she noticed that the stability I provided isn't something you just duplicate overnight, or if she just filled the silence so fast that there was no space to notice it all. That's what hurt, the possibility that I wasn't deeply registered, that I was experienced but not understood, because there's a difference between being with someone and truly knowing them. And when someone replaces you quickly, it feels like they never fully knew the weight of what they had. It feels like they liked the experience of you, not the essence of you, and I can handle someone not choosing me. But it's harder to handle feeling like I was easy to move past. I keep thinking about how careful I was, how intentional I was, how I didn't play games, how I didn't keep backups, how when things got hard, I leaned in instead of pulling away. And in the end, it feels like none of that slowed her down. 7 days. That number keeps echoing like a clock ticking in reverse, because for me, 7 days after a breakup feels raw. It feels heavy. It feels like I'm still adjusting to the silence, but for her, 7 days was enough to build something new. And that contrast makes you feel like you loved harder than you were loved. And that's a lonely realization, because loving harder isn't something you brag about. It's something you feel when the other person moves on faster, and you're left holding the emotional weight. But here's what I'm starting to see clearly. Just because she moved on quickly doesn't mean she processed it deeply. Speed isn't strength. Speed can be avoidance. Speed can be distraction. Speed can be ego protection. Sometimes people rush into something new not because the old thing meant nothing, but because it meant too much. Because sitting alone would force them to face what they lost, and not everyone is strong enough to sit in that kind of silence, and maybe I am. Maybe the reason I'm still here thinking, reflecting, feeling is because I actually let it hit me. I didn't numb it, I didn't immediately replace it, I didn't run from it, I sat with it. And sitting with pain requires maturity. It requires discipline, it requires emotional depth. So maybe this isn't about me being less valuable, maybe it's about me being more capable of processing, and that's not weakness, that's growth. Still, there's something about knowing she's creating new memories that stings, because those were supposed to be ours. The random laughs, the new places, the inside jokes. Now someone else gets that version of her, and I have to let go of the idea that it was only meant for me. And that's hard, but here's the truth I can't ignore anymore. If she could replace me in a week, then I was loving someone who wasn't built to stay long term. Because people who are built to stay don't detach that fast. They don't redirect that easily. They don't swap depth for novelty overnight. And I don't want someone who can treat connection like it's interchangeable. I want someone who understands the weight of history, who understands that what you build with someone isn't disposable, who understands that real attachment doesn't reset in 7 days. So yeah, she replaced me in a week, but I'm rebuilding myself in a way that lasts longer than a rebound ever will. And when I look back at this one day, I won't just remember the hurt, I'll remember the clarity. Because being replaced quickly doesn't mean you were insignificant. It means the other person wasn't anchored, and I refuse to confuse someone else's instability with my lack of worth. 7 days might have been enough for her to move forward, but it's not enough to erase what I was. And one day, when I'm with someone who values depth the way I do, this week won't define me. It'll will just be proof that I was never meant to stay where I was easily replaced. At some point, the hurt turns into something quieter. Not lighter, just quieter. Because you can only replay 7 days so many times before your brain gets tired of the echo. And when the noise slows down, clarity starts creeping in. I started asking myself a different question. Not why did she replace me so fast, but why am I measuring my value through her speed? Because that's what I was doing without realizing it. I was using her timeline as a mirror. If she moved on quickly, I must not have mattered deeply. If she looks happy, I must have been replaceable. If she didn't hesitate, I must not have left impact. But that logic is flawed. Her speed is not a measurement of my depth. Her distraction is not a reflection of my worth. Her ability to move forward quickly doesn't erase the way I showed up. And once I started separating those things, something shifted. Because I know how I loved, I know I was intentional, I know I was loyal, I know I didn't treat what we had like it was temporary. So if she did, that says something about her capacity, not my value. And I had to stop turning her coping style into my insecurity, because that's what I was doing. I was letting her rebound rewrite my confidence. I was letting her quick transition convince me I was forgettable. But forgettable doesn't leave you reflecting. Forgettable doesn't leave you rebuilding. Forgettable doesn't leave you questioning your own growth. What we had meant something, even if she chose not to sit in that meaning. And maybe that's the difference between us. I process, she replaces. I reflect, she redirects. I sit with the silence, she fills it. And neither is necessarily wrong, but one builds depth, the other builds distraction, and depth always wins in the long run. Because distraction fades, novelty fades, rebounds lose their adrenaline, and when that happens, whatever was avoided eventually resurfaces, and by then I won't be stuck in the same place, because while she rushed forward, I rebuilt properly, and rebuilding properly takes longer, but it lasts longer too. 7 days might have been enough for her to feel okay, but it wasn't enough for me to lose myself. And that's what matters. So yeah, she replaced me in a week. And for a while that felt like proof that I wasn't enough, proof that I was temporary, proof that I was easy to move past. But now, it feels like proof of something else. Proof that I love deeply. Proof that I don't detach easily. Proof that I don't treat connection like it's disposable. Because if I could have replaced her that fast and didn't, that says something. It says I value what I build. It says I respect history. It says I don't jump into something new just to soothe my ego. And I'd rather be the one who heals slowly than the one who forgets quickly. Because forgetting quickly doesn't mean you're strong. Sometimes it just means you're avoiding. And I don't want to avoid. I want to grow. I want to understand what worked, what didn't, what I tolerated, what I ignored. I want to rebuild my confidence without attaching it to someone else's timeline. She replaced me in a week, but she didn't replace my character. She didn't replace my loyalty. She didn't replace my ability to love fully. And one day, someone is going to experience that depth and recognize it immediately. Not treat it like a placeholder, not treat it like a phase, but treat it like something rare. Because rare things don't get swapped in 7 days. They get protected, so maybe this wasn't about me being replaced. Maybe it was about me being redirected away from someone who could move on that quickly towards someone who won't. 7 days hurt, but it also clarified. I don't want to be in a position where I can be replaced that easily ever again. And the only way to guarantee that is to choose someone who understands the weight of what they're holding, and next time, I will. Maybe I'm not hard to love. Maybe I'm just not someone people stay for. Because they come close, they get attached, they say they care, they act invested, and then something shifts, they pull back, they get unsure, they choose easier. And after it happens enough times, you stop blaming timing, you start blaming yourself. You start wondering if you're good for the moment, but not for the long term. If you're exciting, but not secure. If you're lovable, but not keepable. And that thought sits heavy, because being left doesn't just hurt your heart, it makes you question your value. When almost relationships keep happening, your brain starts building a story, a quiet one. It says, people like you, but they don't stay. And once that narrative forms, everything starts filtering through it. If someone takes longer to reply, you assume they're losing interest. If someone pulls back slightly, you assume it's the beginning of the end. Because you've seen this pattern before, you've felt the slow fade, the shift in tone, the subtle detachment. So now even when something feels good, you brace yourself, not because you're negative, because you're tired of being surprised. And the scary part, you start expecting abandonment before it even happens. You hold back, you don't get too excited, you don't fully relax, because deep down, you're preparing for them to leave, not because you're unlovable, but because repetition turned into belief. Fully relax into the connection, because fully relax into the connection. Because what's the point if it's temporary anyway? You become hyper-aware, watching for changes, tracking energy shifts, reading into silence, and sometimes, without realizing it, you create distance first. You pull back slightly, you act less invested, you test their consistency, not to play games, but to protect yourself, because if they're gonna leave, you'd rather see it coming. But here's the hard truth. When you show up guarded, you don't give love the chance to feel safe. Not because you're toxic, not because you're difficult, but because you're tired of being surprised, tired of being left, tired of being the one who cares more. So you half show up, and then when it ends, it feels like confirmation. See, they left again. But maybe it's not that you're someone people don't stay for. Maybe it's that you're still healing from the last time they didn't. There's a difference between being left and choosing people who were never built to stay. That's the part we don't always see, because when someone walks away, it feels personal. It feels like they evaluated you and decided you weren't enough. But look closer. Were they consistent from the start? Were they clear about their intentions? Were they emotionally available or just present? Sometimes the pattern isn't that you're not worth staying for. It's that you keep giving your depth to people who only plan to visit. People who like connection but fear commitment. People who enjoy intimacy but avoid responsibility. And when they leave, it reinforces the narrative. No one stays. But maybe the better question is, who have I been choosing? Because when you stop choosing emotionally unavailable people, the pattern changes. Not instantly, not magically, but gradually. You realize you were never hard to stay for, you were just staying with people who were temporary. At some point, you stop chasing permanence, you stop trying to lock something in before it's solid, stop over-investing just to make it last, stop forcing potential into commitment because you realize something. You can't convince someone to stay. You can't love someone into being ready. You can't perform your way into permanence. So instead of gripping tighter, you loosen your hold. You let people show you who they are. You stop rushing labels. Stop fantasizing futures before foundations exist. And something interesting happens. When you're no longer desperate for someone to stay, you start attracting people who actually want to. Because permanence isn't built through pressure, it's built through alignment. You don't chase it, you allow it. And when someone stays without being forced, without being convinced, without being chased, it feels different. Not fragile, not uncertain, just steady. At some point, the fear shifts. It stops being, they're going to leave, and becomes, if they do, I'll be okay. That's confidence, not the loud kind, not the I don't care kind. The steady kind. You stop gripping so tightly. You stop overanalyzing every shift. You stop trying to secure permanence too early, because you know this. If someone stays, it's because they want to, not because you convinced them, not because you performed perfectly, not because you minimized yourself. And if they leave, it doesn't collapse your identity. It doesn't confirm you're unworthy. It just confirms they weren't aligned. You're not scared of people leaving anymore. You're more concerned with whether they're capable of staying. And that's different, because now you're not auditioning, you're observing. And the people who are meant to stay, they won't need to be chased. They won't need to be monitored. They won't need to be reminded. They'll just stay. Being someone people stay for starts with staying true to yourself first, because when you abandon yourself to keep someone else, you teach them that you'll tolerate instability, you over-adjust, over-forgive, overextend, you bend your boundaries so they don't feel pressured, you silence your needs so they don't feel overwhelmed, and slowly, you're the one disappearing. But here's the shift. The more you stay grounded in who you are, the less you attract people who only plan to pass through. When you communicate clearly, when you hold your standards calmly, when you don't chase mixed signals, the wrong people leave faster. And that's not loss, that's filtering. You don't become someone people stay for by shrinking yourself into convenience. You become that by being steady in your worth. The right person won't stay because you made it easy. They'll stay because they respect what you stand on. The right love doesn't feel like survival. It doesn't feel like holding your breath. It doesn't feel like waiting for the other shoe to drop. It doesn't feel like constantly proving you're worth keeping. It feels stable, not boring, not forced, stable. You're not overthinking every text. You're not tracking effort. You're not wondering if today is the day they change their mind. You just feel secure, and that's what you've been craving this whole time. Not obsession, not intensity, not dramatic passion, stability. Because when someone is truly staying, you don't have to fight for reassurance. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to overperform. You don't have to prepare for abandonment. You get to relax. And if you've never experienced that, of course, you start thinking maybe you're not someone people stay for, but maybe you've just never been with someone capable of stable love. There's a difference. At some point, you stop fearing being left. You start expecting to be valued. That's the real shift. You don't walk into connections thinking, how long will this last? You walk in thinking, if this is aligned, it will stay. You stop preparing for abandonment. Stop bracing for the slow fade. Stop assuming you'll have to fight to be kept, because now you know something. If someone leaves, it doesn't mean you weren't worth staying for. It means they weren't built to stay. And instead of internalizing it, you let it pass. You don't collapse. You don't spiral. You don't rewrite your worth. You understand that being valued is the bare minimum. And once you truly believe that, you stop entertaining anything less. You don't chase clarity. You don't beg for reassurance. You don't accept confusion. You expect effort. You expect consistency. You expect intention. And the people who can't offer that, they filter themselves out. So, am I just not someone people stay for? No, I just stopped staying where I'm not valued. There's a difference. For a long time, I thought people leaving was proof that I wasn't enough, not interesting enough, not secure enough, not worth committing to long term. But now I see it clearly. The wrong people didn't stay because they were never meant to build. They were meant to teach. Teach me what inconsistency feels like. Teach me what mixed signals look like. Teach me what I will never accept again. And once you learn that, you stop chasing permanence. You stop trying to be easier. You stop overproving. You stop bending yourself into something digestible, because you realize this. You are absolutely someone people stay for, just not people who are unsure, not people who love halfway, not people who need options. The right person won't need convincing. They won't need time to decide your worth. They won't feel overwhelmed by your depth. They'll feel steady. And this time, if someone leaves, you won't question your value. You'll question their capacity, because you're no longer asking, why don't people stay? You're asking, are they capable of staying at my level? And that's the shift. Sometimes the question isn't, will I be loved? It's quieter than that. It's, is there something about me that makes love harder? Because when people keep leaving or hesitating or choosing someone else, you start internalizing it. You start wondering if maybe you're too intense, too emotional, too independent, too complicated, or maybe not enough of something. And no one ever says it directly. They just drift, they just lose interest, they just aren't ready, and you're left holding the pattern. So you sit there thinking, if I was easier to love, would they have stayed? maybe you're not hard to love. Maybe you're just hard to manipulate, hard to breadcrumb, hard to keep around without effort, hard to confuse. And to the wrong people, that feels inconvenient. You ask questions, you want clarity. You don't pretend you're okay with half effort. That doesn't make you difficult, it makes you aware. But when you keep encountering people who aren't ready for depth, your standards start to feel like flaws. You start thinking, maybe if I needed less, maybe if I expected less, maybe if I was more chill, they would have stayed. But staying isn't the goal. Staying right is. And being easy to love often just means being easy to neglect. You're not hard to love, you're just not built for temporary. When rejection repeats itself, you stop seeing it as coincidence. You start seeing it as confirmation. Confirmation that maybe you're too much, too sensitive, too deep, too intense for people to handle long term. So you adjust, you soften your reactions, you downplay your needs, you act less invested than you actually are, because maybe if you seem lighter, less emotional, less attached, they won't leave. But here's what really happens. You slowly disconnect from yourself. You become quieter in relationships, less expressive, less honest about what you want. And when someone still walks away, it hurts even more, because now it feels like even the edited version of you wasn't enough. That's when the question gets louder. If even my smaller version isn't chosen, what does that say about me? But maybe it doesn't say anything about you. Maybe it says something about who you've been choosing. There's a difference between being hard to love and being hard to access. Hard to love sounds like a flaw, like you're difficult, complicated, too much work. Hard to access is different. It means not everyone gets the deepest parts of you. It means you don't open up instantly. It means your vulnerability isn't handed out casually. And that's not a weakness, that's discernment. You don't let just anyone in anymore. You don't overshare with people who haven't earned trust. You don't attach quickly just because there's chemistry. To someone who wants easy, that feels frustrating. To someone who wants depth, that feels rare. You're not hard to love, you're just not available for surface level connection. And the wrong people will always call that too much, but the right person, they'll call it intentional. Maybe the real issue was never that you're hard to love. Maybe you've been loving people who don't know how to love deeply. There's a difference. Some people like the idea of you, your attention, your softness, the way you show up for them. But when it's time to reciprocate, they struggle, not because you're asking for too much, but because they don't have that depth to give. And instead of admitting that, it's easier for them to label you. Too intense, too emotional, too serious. But wanting clarity isn't intense, wanting effort isn't emotional, wanting something real isn't serious, it's healthy. You're not hard to love, you're hard to half love, and that's where the tension comes from. Because people who operate casually feel pressure around someone who operates intentionally, but pressure isn't the same as incompatibility, it's just misalignment. When you're repeatedly misunderstood, you start questioning your depth. You start wondering if you feel too much, if you expect too much, if you interpret things too deeply. Because when people keep saying, it's not that serious, or you're overthinking, you begin to shrink your instincts, you second guess your reactions, you silence your intuition, you tell yourself to calm down even when something feels off. But here's the truth. Depth feels dramatic to people who live on the surface. Emotional awareness feels intense to people who avoid vulnerability. Your ability to feel deeply is not a flaw, it's a capacity. And just because someone doesn't meet you there doesn't mean you're too much. It just means they don't swim that far. You're not hard to love. You're just not built for shallow connections. And that's not something you should dilute. At some point, the question changes. It stops being, am I hard to love? And starts being, are they capable of loving me properly? That shift is everything, because instead of dissecting yourself, you start observing them. Can they communicate clearly? Can they handle vulnerability? Can they stay consistent when things get real? Or do they pull away the moment depth shows up? You stop assuming you're the problem. You start noticing patterns. Some people love casually, some people love conditionally. Some people love only when it's convenient. And if you love intentionally, those dynamics will always clash. You're not hard to love. You're just not compatible with people who aren't emotionally available. And once you realize that, you stop shrinking, you stop softening your standards, you stop apologizing for wanting clarity, because love isn't supposed to feel like convincing someone, it's supposed to feel mutual. What if being hard to love actually means you're built for something rare? Rare love isn't rushed, it isn't casual, it isn't convenient, it's intentional. And intentional love requires emotional maturity, self-awareness, consistency. Not everyone has that. So when someone meets you and realizes they can't show up fully, it's easier for them to say you're too much than admit they're not ready. Rare things aren't accessible to everyone. Depth isn't for everyone. Loyalty isn't for everyone. Emotional honesty isn't for everyone. You're not hard to love, you're selective. And selective love filters out people who only wanted access, not responsibility. You don't need someone who loves lightly. You need someone who loves intentionally. And that kind of love is never going to come from everyone anyway. At some point, you stop fearing the label. You stop trying to prove you're easy. You stop trying to shrink your depth. You stop trying to soften your standards. If loving you requires clarity, effort, and consistency, then that's the requirement, not an apology. You don't dilute your emotions anymore. You don't pretend you're fine with surface level. You don't act detached just to seem low maintenance. You embrace it. Yes, you love deeply. Yes, you need communication. Yes, you value stability. That doesn't make you difficult. It makes you intentional. And when you stop treating your depth like a flaw, you stop attracting people who are intimidated by it, because confidence changes your energy. You're not asking, is this too much? Like, you're asking, can they meet me here? And if they can't, you don't internalize it. You understand that not everyone is equipped for the kind of love you offer, and that's okay. So, am I hard to love? No, I'm just not easy to half love. I don't do confusion. I don't thrive on inconsistency. I don't mistake potential for commitment anymore. If loving me requires effort, that's because I give effort. If loving me requires honesty, that's because I offer honesty. If loving me requires depth, that's because I refuse to stay shallow. I used to think I needed to soften, to be less emotional, less aware, less intense, but the right love won't ask me to shrink. It won't call my standards too much. It won't label my needs as dramatic. It won't feel overwhelmed by my depth. It will meet it. So no, I'm not hard to love. I'm just built for someone who loves intentionally, someone who doesn't hesitate, someone who doesn't compare, someone who doesn't need convincing. And until that shows up, I'm not a problem to fix. I'm just not available for less. And that's not being hard to love. That's knowing exactly how I deserve to be loved. I found out what she really thought of me, and I wish I didn't, because in my head, it was different. I thought she respected me. I thought she valued me. I thought the way I showed up actually meant something to her. But the truth, it wasn't what I believed. And it didn't come out in a direct way. Not a conversation. Not something she sat me down and said. It came out indirectly, through things I wasn't supposed to hear, through how she spoke when I wasn't around. And that's when it hit me. The version of me in her head wasn't the same as the version of me I thought she saw. At first I didn't want to believe it because it didn't match how she acted around me. With me, she seemed calm, interested, like she actually cared. But what I heard didn't sound like that version of her at all. It sounded detached, like I wasn't that important, like I was just there. And that's what messes with you. When someone treats you one way to your face and thinks something completely different behind it, because now you don't know what was real, the way she talked to you, or the way she talked about you. And once I heard it, I couldn't unhear it. Every memory started changing. Moments that felt genuine started feeling questionable. Things she said started sounding different in my head, because now I was looking at everything through a new lens, a more honest one. And the more I thought about it, the more it started making sense. Why sometimes her energy felt off. Why sometimes I felt like I was trying harder. why something always felt slightly uneven. I just didn't want to accept it back then. Because when you care about someone, you don't want to believe they see you differently than you see them. You want to believe it's mutual, that the respect is equal, that the value is the same on both sides. But it wasn't. Not really. Because if she truly saw me the way I thought she did, she wouldn't have spoken about me like that. She wouldn't have minimized what I was giving. She wouldn't have treated my presence like something replaceable. And that's the part that hits your ego. Not in a loud way, in a quiet way. Because now you're not just dealing with losing her. You're dealing with realizing how little you meant in her perspective. While you were taking her seriously, she wasn't taking you the same way. And that imbalance, it hurts more than the ending. For a while I started questioning myself, like maybe I misread everything. Maybe I thought it was deeper than it actually was. Maybe I gave too much meaning to something that wasn't built to hold it. Because when someone sees you as less than what you believed, it makes you feel like you got it wrong. But here's what I had to understand. Just because she didn't value me properly, doesn't mean I wasn't valuable. The problem wasn't who I was, it was how she saw me. And you can't control that. You can show up right, you can be real, you can be consistent. But if someone already has a limited view of you, they're going to treat you based on that, no matter how you show up. And that's why nothing I did changed it, because the issue wasn't effort, it was perception. Once I understood that, the pain started shifting, because now it wasn't about trying to prove something to her anymore. It was about realizing I was giving energy to someone who didn't even see it properly. And that's a different kind of clarity, because it makes you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop trying to be understood by someone who already decided how they see you. And honestly, I'm glad I found out, even though it hurt, because I would have kept going, thinking it was deeper than it actually was, thinking she valued me the way I valued her, and that would have kept me stuck. But the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, it frees you. So yeah, then I found out what she really thought of me, and it wasn't what I expected, but now I see it clearly. The right person doesn't make you question your value. They don't talk about you like you're nothing. They don't treat you like you're replaceable. They see you fully, clearly, and they move accordingly. So I'm not mad at what I found out. I'm just glad I didn't stay blind to it, because now I know one thing for sure. I'd rather know the truth than keep believing something that was never real. Lust has a way of quietly taking control if you don't pay attention to it, and it doesn't usually show up as something obvious or destructive at first. It shows up as a craving, a distraction, a feeling that you need something, someone right now. And that's why it's dangerous. Lust should be treated like a warning light on a dashboard, not something to ignore and not something to chase, but something telling you to look deeper. When lust starts to feel overwhelming, it's often not about desire at all, it's about what's missing. It's a signal that you might be lacking intimacy in your life. And intimacy doesn't always mean romance or physical connection. Intimacy is feeling understood, feeling close, feeling grounded. That can come from meaningful friendships, family conversations, spiritual connection, prayer, or simply spending time with yourself without running from your thoughts. A lot of people mistake lust for connection because it temporarily fills a void. It gives you a rush, something to focus on, something that makes you feel wanted or alive. But once that feeling fades, the emptiness is still there. Sometimes it's even louder than before. That's how people end up stuck in cycles, chasing momentary satisfaction while pushing real healing further away. That craving you feel isn't something to be ashamed of, it's information. It's your mind and body telling you that something inside you needs attention. Maybe you're lonely, maybe you're disconnected from yourself, maybe you've been avoiding emotions you don't want to sit with. Lust becomes an escape when facing those feelings feels too uncomfortable. The problem starts when you indulge in it without awareness, when you constantly distract yourself instead of asking why the feeling is there in the first place. Every time you choose the distraction, you delay the work, you delay the growth, you delay becoming whole again. Instead of acting on that urge, pause. Ask yourself what you're really craving. Is it closeness? Is it validation? Is it comfort? Is it peace? Those needs can't be fulfilled by desire alone. They require honesty with yourself and sometimes discipline to sit with discomfort long enough to understand it. Healing begins when you stop running from the signal and start listening to it. Lust isn't the enemy. Ignoring what it's trying to show you is. When you learn to recognize it as a sign instead of a solution, you gain control over it instead of letting it control you. And that awareness can change everything. I've been thinking about something lately. There's a difference between being loved and being convenient, and sometimes I can't tell which one I am. Because you say you love me, you act like you care, you stay, but staying isn't the same as investing. You can stay in someone's life because they're easy, because they're understanding, because they don't cause too many problems, because they don't threaten your comfort. That doesn't automatically mean you love them deeply. And that's where my mind starts wandering. If I stopped being easy, if I stopped being patient, if I stopped adjusting when you're distant, if I stopped giving you the benefit of the doubt every time something feels off, would you still love me the same? Or would things start feeling heavier to you? Because I love in a way that's active. I think about you when you're not around. I consider how my actions affect you. I replay conversations to make sure I didn't hurt you unintentionally. I check in even when I'm tired. And I don't do that to be praised. I do that because I care, so when I don't feel that same level of intentionality back, it doesn't make me angry. It makes me unsure, because love shouldn't feel like something one person maintains. It shouldn't feel like if I stopped trying, everything would slowly collapse. Sometimes I wonder if you love the way I show up for you, but not the actual weight of loving me back, because loving me means consistency. It means emotional awareness. It means showing up even when you're stressed. It means reassuring without being asked 5 times. And I don't know if you're loving me or just enjoying how I love you. And that difference matters more than people think. Because I don't want to be someone's peace if I'm not also their priority. I don't want to be someone's stability if I'm not also deeply valued. I don't want to be easy to keep just because I'm hard to lose. I want to feel chosen loudly enough that I don't question it silently. And lately, I've been questioning it. I think what makes this question uncomfortable is that nothing is technically wrong. You're not cruel, you're not distant all the time, you're not openly careless. But love isn't just about what someone isn't doing. It's about what they are doing consistently. And sometimes I feel like I'm filling in emotional gaps you don't even notice are there. When I feel tension, I address it. When I sense distance, I close it. When communication weakens, I strengthen it. But when I pull back slightly, even a little, I can feel the difference immediately, and that tells me something. Because if the connection shifts the moment I stop overcompensating, then maybe I've been holding more weight than I realized. And that's exhausting. Not physically, emotionally. Because loving someone deeply while wondering if they love you with the same intentionality creates a quiet insecurity you don't talk about out loud. You start asking yourself subtle questions. If I didn't initiate, would they? If I didn't reassure, would they? If I didn't bring warmth into the conversation, would it still feel warm? And I don't want to think like that. I don't want to calculate effort. I don't want to measure energy. But imbalance forces you to notice patterns, and patterns don't lie. There's also a difference between being wanted and being valued. Wanted is temporary, wanted is emotional in the moment, valued is consistent. Valued means you're considered in decisions. Valued means your feelings are handled carefully. Valued means someone protects the connection, even when things feel stable. Sometimes I feel wanted, but I don't always feel protected. And protection doesn't mean control. It means awareness. It means someone thinking, I don't want to lose this, so I'll handle it with care. I want to feel like that. I don't want to be someone you assume will always stay. I want to be someone you actively choose to keep, because there's a dangerous comfort in knowing someone is loyal. It can make you relax too much. It can make you stop trying as hard. It can make you think effort isn't urgent anymore. but love without continued effort slowly turns into maintenance, and maintenance feels transactional. I don't want to be loved because I'm stable. I don't want to be loved because I'm understanding. I don't want to be loved because I don't make things difficult. I want to be loved because I matter, because my presence is important to you, because losing me would actually affect you, not just inconvenience you. And if I ever have to question that for too long, then something isn't landing the way love should. Because when you're deeply loved, you don't feel like you're the only one holding the emotional glue together. You feel supported, you feel met, you feel secure enough to stop asking whether you're too much. And until I feel that consistently, not just in moments, not just after I express doubt, that question will keep circling in my mind. Do you love me, or do you just like having me around? There's something I haven't said out loud. I think I'm afraid of being loved comfortably. Not passionately, not intentionally, comfortably. Comfortable love is quiet. It assumes I'll always be there. It stops checking as much. It stops pursuing as much. It stops protecting the connection as carefully. And it doesn't look toxic. It just slowly feels less alive, less intentional. Because in the beginning, you pay attention to everything. You notice small mood changes. You ask deeper questions. You show up with energy. But once things feel secure, once I've proven I'm loyal, once you feel like I'm not going anywhere, do you still put in that same care, or do you relax into the assumption that I'll always adjust? Because here's the truth, I do adjust. I understand when you're tired, I understand when you're stressed, I understand when you need space, but understanding shouldn't mean I absorb everything. It shouldn't mean I silently carry the emotional difference. And sometimes I feel like I do. Sometimes I feel like I love you in ways that require awareness, and you love me in ways that require comfort. There's a difference. Awareness asks, how does this affect them? Comfort asks, they'll understand. And I always do. But at what cost? Because when you're the emotionally steady one, the patient one, the consistent one, people forget you still need reassurance too. They forget you still need to feel chosen. They forget that even the calmest person can start questioning things if effort shifts. And I've felt shifts, not dramatic ones, small ones, less curiosity, less intentional communication, less urgency to fix small disconnects. And when small disconnects aren't addressed, they grow, not into explosions, into distance. And distance is quiet, doesn't scream. It settles. It makes you feel slightly alone even when someone is right there. That's the part that scares me, not losing you. Feeling alone while still having you. Because if I'm going to love someone deeply, I don't want to feel like I'm maintaining it by myself. I don't want to feel like my emotional awareness is what keeps us stable. I want to feel met. I want to feel like if I pull back slightly, you lean in. I want to feel like if I'm overwhelmed, you step up. I want to feel like if I go quiet, you notice without me announcing it. That's love, not just staying, not just saying it, but actively participating in it. And until I feel that consistently, not just when I bring it up, not just after conflict, not just when I look distant, that question will sit with me. Are you loving me deeply, or just loving the fact that I make things easy? I think the hardest truth I'm slowly accepting is this. If I have to constantly question the depth of your love, then something about it doesn't feel secure. And love without security becomes anxiety. Not loud anxiety, quiet anxiety. The kind where I replay conversations in my head, the kind where I overanalyze tone, the kind where I wonder if I'm asking for too much just because I want consistency. And I don't want to be that version of myself. I don't want to love guarded. I don't want to measure how much I give. I don't want to calculate who initiates more. I don't want to mentally track effort just to reassure myself that things are balanced, because love shouldn't feel like an equation. It shouldn't feel like if I relax, everything will slowly fall apart. It should feel shared, protected from both sides, maintained by both people. There's a difference between being loved and being relied on. Being relied on means you're useful. Being loved means you're valued. Being relied on means you bring stability. Being loved means someone protects your emotional stability too. Being relied on feels good at first. It feels important, but over time, if it's not matched with intentional care, it starts to feel heavy, because I don't want to be the emotional backbone of something without feeling emotionally supported myself. And here's the part that really matters. If I stopped being the easy one, if I stopped being the understanding one, if I stopped smoothing over tension before it grows, if I stopped filling emotional gaps without mentioning them, would you step up? Would you fight for it the same way? Would you lean in instead of leaning back? Or would things slowly drift because I'm no longer overcompensating? That question tells me everything, because real love doesn't depend on one person's emotional maturity to survive. Real love meets you halfway. It notices your silence. It responds to your distance with concern, not ego. It protects your heart even when you're not actively asking for protection. And I don't want dramatic love. I don't want obsessive love. I don't want love that feels like chaos. I want love that feels intentional. I want to feel chosen without begging for it. I want to feel prioritized without competing for it. I want to feel secure without constantly seeking proof. Because if you truly love me deeply, I won't feel like I'm guessing. I won't feel like I'm trying to convince myself. I won't feel like I'm the one holding the emotional glue together. I'll feel it in your consistency, in your effort after comfort sets in your willingness to maintain what we have instead of assuming it will maintain itself. And maybe you do love me, but if I constantly feel like I'm the one protecting the connection, then it's not balanced. And love without balance eventually becomes exhaustion. So the real question isn't just, do you love me? It's this: if I stop making it easy to love me, would you still love me the same? Or have I just been convenient all along? There's something about half-secure love that changes you slowly, not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly. You stop asking for reassurance because you don't want to seem needy. You stop bringing up small things because you don't want to create tension. You start telling yourself it's not that serious, even when it is. And little by little, you become smaller inside the relationship, not because you're weak, because you're trying to protect it. But protection shouldn't only come from one side. I shouldn't feel like I'm constantly managing the emotional temperature. I shouldn't feel like I'm the one making sure things don't drift, because when you love someone deeply, you don't just assume they'll stay. You actively maintain the connection. You don't just rely on their loyalty. You honor it. And sometimes I wonder if you've gotten used to me, used to my patience, used to my consistency, used to the fact that I rarely overreact. And being used to is dangerous, because comfort without effort turns into complacency, and complacency slowly turns into distance. And distance is what makes someone start asking questions they never wanted to ask. I don't need to be chased every day, but I do need to feel chosen every day. There's a difference. Chasing is about excitement. Choosing is about intention. Choosing means you still show effort after the honeymoon phase fades. Choosing means you still check in emotionally even when nothing is wrong. Choosing means you don't let comfort replace care. And that's what I crave. Not intensity, not drama, not chaos disguised as passion. I want steady love, the kind where I don't have to analyze tone, the kind where I don't feel like I'm overthinking every small shift, the kind where my nervous system isn't constantly scanning for changes. Because when love feels secure, your body relaxes. You don't brace for distance. You don't anticipate inconsistency. You don't question whether you matter that day. And lately I've caught myself bracing. That's what scares me. I've realized something about myself. When I start questioning whether I'm loved, I don't get loud. I get quiet. I observe more. I speak less. I test nothing, but I notice everything. I notice if you initiate. I notice if you reassure without being prompted. I notice if your effort stays steady or fluctuates. And if it fluctuates too much, I don't argue. I slowly detach, not because I want to, but because protecting my heart becomes instinct. And once I start detaching, it's hard to reverse, because detachment doesn't come from anger. It comes from exhaustion, from feeling like you've been carrying something emotionally alone for too long, and I don't want to detach from you. I want to feel secure with you, but security requires reciprocity. I think what hurts most is the possibility that you love me in your own way, but not in the way I need. And love isn't just about what you feel internally, it's about how it translates externally. If your love makes me feel unsure, if your love makes me feel like I'm asking for too much when I ask for consistency, if your love makes me feel like I have to shrink to keep the peace, then something isn't aligning, because real love doesn't make you question your value. It reinforces it. It doesn't make you wonder if you're too emotional. It makes you feel safe expressing emotion. And I don't want to be in a position where I'm constantly explaining why I need reassurance. I want it to feel natural, mutual, balanced. Here's the truth I don't say out loud. I don't want to compete with your comfort. I don't want to fight against your laziness. I don't want to beg for effort that should come naturally when someone truly values you. Because if you deeply loved me, you wouldn't want to risk losing me through neglect. You wouldn't let small disconnects grow. You wouldn't assume I'll always stay no matter what. You would treat the connection like it matters, not just when things feel unstable, but especially when things feel secure. Because secure love still requires maintenance, it still requires intention, it still requires showing up fully. And if I ever feel like I'm the only one doing that consistently, that's when love starts feeling heavy instead of safe. So do you love me? Or do you just like having me? Because those two things look similar at first, but over time, they feel very different. Liking having me means you enjoy my presence. Loving me means you protect it. Liking having me means you're comfortable. Loving me means you're intentional. Liking having me means you assume I'll stay. Loving me means you make sure I want to, and I don't want to stay somewhere I feel half secure. I don't want to slowly shrink just to keep something alive. I don't want to love loudly while feeling loved quietly. I want balance. I want mutual effort. I want to feel so consistently chosen that I stop asking myself this question entirely, because when you are deeply loved, you don't sit alone wondering. You feel it in the way they show up every day, not perfectly, but intentionally. And if I ever have to keep convincing myself that I'm loved, then maybe I'm not asking for too much. Maybe I'm just ready for a love that makes the answer obvious. I don't care how corny it sounds, I'll never stop being a lover boy. Not until I get the kind of love I've always imagined. The kind where there is no one else, no distractions, no half interest, just one person in a world that feels smaller because of it. I want that kind of love where it doesn't wander, where nobody else even registers, where loving them feels natural, not forced. The kind of love that feels cinematic without trying. Just two people driving nowhere, standing in open fields, traveling for no reason other than wanting to be together. The kind of love you don't just feel in your chest, you feel it in your soul, hot, intense, alive. And I don't understand how people walk around acting indifferent to that. Love is something casual, like it doesn't matter, because love is everything. Sharing the world with someone, learning their habits, knowing their moods, understanding them in ways nobody else does. Going from strangers to someone you can't imagine life without, there's nothing like it. And yeah, love comes with risk, heartbreak, loss, pain, but I'm here for all of it, because if that's the price of loving deeply, I'll pay it. I'll take the heartbreak, I'll take the uncertainty, I'll take the risk. The lover boy in me isn't dying. It can't. What makes it hard sometimes isn't loving deeply. It's loving deeply in a world that pretends not to care. People act like being attached is embarrassing, like wanting someone fully is something you should hide. They call it nonchalant. They call it cool. They call it protecting yourself. But to me, it just feels empty. I don't want love that's casual. I don't want half interest. I don't want to act like I wouldn't be crushed if I lost someone I care about. I want to feel it. I want the kind of love where my heart is all the way in. No exits, no backups, no pretending. And yeah, that makes me vulnerable. It means I get hurt easier. It means I feel things more intensely, but I'd rather feel everything than live numb just to look unbothered, because loving deeply isn't weakness, it's courage. It takes guts to say I want you fully. I'm choosing you. I'm not scared to care. And maybe that's why it feels lonely sometimes, because not everyone is built to love like that. But I am. And I'm not going to dull that part of me just to fit into a world that treats love like it's optional. Loving this way hurts more because you don't do it halfway. You don't keep one foot out the door. You don't love with conditions. You don't calculate how much to give. When you fall completely. And that means when things don't work out, it hits harder. You don't just lose a person, you lose the future you already imagined, the places you pictured going together, the version of yourself that only existed with them. People say, don't get your hopes up, protect your care less, but that's never been you. You don't know how to want someone quietly, you don't know how to love without meaning it, and you don't want to learn, because even when it hurts, loving deeply still feels better than pretending you don't care. Yeah, heartbreak changes you. It slows you down, makes you cautious for a while, but it never kills that part of you that believes in something more. And that's the difference. Some people close their hearts after pain. Others keep theirs open, not because they're naive, but because they refuse to let disappointment turn them cold. You don't love deeply because it's easy. You love deeply because that's who you are. And even when it costs you, you'd rather feel everything than live a life that feels empty. The truth is, you already know how this can end. You know love can break you. You know it can leave scars. You know it can take pieces you don't get back, and still you choose it. Not because you're reckless, not because you're desperate, but because a life without love feels smaller than a life with heartbreak. You're not chasing perfection, you're chasing connection. The kind that makes the world feel louder and quieter at the same time. The kind that turns ordinary moments into memories. The kind that makes you feel seen in ways words can't explain. People say love like that is unrealistic, that it only exists in movies or stories, but you've felt glimpses of it, enough to know it's real, and once you've felt that, you can't pretend you don't want it anymore. So yeah, you risk it again, you open your heart again, you believe again, not because you forgot the pain, but because you decided it wasn't stronger than your capacity to love. Being a lover boy doesn't mean you ignore reality, it means you face it and still choose love anyway. When you say you want that kind of love, you're not talking about perfection, you're not chasing fantasy or some unrealistic fairy tale ending, you're talking about presence, the kind of love where you don't feel alone even when you're silent, where being together feels natural, not forced, where effort doesn't feel like work. Is waking up and knowing there's one person in the world who chooses you without hesitation, not because they have to, but because they want to. It's traveling with no plan and still feeling grounded, standing in open spaces and realizing the world feels fuller just because they're next to you. It's loyalty without fear, commitment without control, love that feels intense but never unsafe. That's the kind of love you want. Not obsession, not possession, connection. The kind where you don't question intentions, you don't wonder where you stand, you don't compete with distractions, you're just there, fully, openly chosen, and wanting that doesn't make you unrealistic, it makes you honest. Because once you know how deeply you can love, you stop settling for anything that asks you to dim that fire. Waiting doesn't scare you, settling does. You've seen what happens when people accept less than what they feel. They grow distant, they grow quiet, they start convincing themselves that good enough is enough, and you don't want that. You don't want a love that feels convenient. You don't want someone who chooses you only when it's easy. You want someone who stays when it's real, when it's messy, when it requires effort. So you wait, not because you think you're better than anyone, but because you know yourself. You know how deeply you love, you know how much you give, and you know what happens when that kind of heart ends up in the wrong hands. You'd rather be alone than feel lonely next to someone who doesn't meet you where you stand. And yeah, some days it gets heavy, watching people pair off, watching others settle into relationships that look fine on the surface, but deep down, you're not jealous. You're patient, because you're not searching for company. You're waiting for alignment, for someone who doesn't flinch at your intensity, who doesn't joke about your softness, who doesn't treat your loyalty like it's replaceable. You're waiting for someone who wants the same kind of love you do. All in, no exits, and until that shows up, you're not lowering your standards, you're protecting your heart. If it ever happens, when someone finally matches your energy, you'll feel the difference immediately. Not fireworks, not chaos, not anxiety disguised as excitement, clarity. You won't question where you stand. You won't wonder if you're asking for too much. You won't feel like you're loving harder than you're being loved. It'll feel mutual in a way you're not used to. They won't flinch at your intensity. They won't joke about you caring too much. They won't act overwhelmed by the way you love. They'll meet it. Your effort won't scare them. It'll reassure them. Your loyalty won't feel rare. It'll feel natural. And the craziest part, you won't feel like you're chasing anything. No convincing. No proving, no waiting for them to catch up emotionally. They'll already be there. And suddenly, all that waiting makes sense. All the times you didn't settle, all the times you walked away, all the times you chose being alone over being half loved. You'll realize you weren't asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong people. When someone finally loves you the way you've always loved others, it won't feel overwhelming. It'll feel right. At the end of everything, after the waiting, the heartbreak, the disappointment, the almost, one thing never leaves: your capacity to love. You don't lose it, even when people try to convince you that you should, even when the world rewards detachment, even when acting unbothered looks easier, even when caring deeply costs you more than you expected, because loving fully was never a phase for you. It's part of who you are. You were built to feel things deeply, to choose one person and mean it, to love in a way that's intentional, loyal, and complete. And yeah, that makes you vulnerable, but it also makes you real. The lover boy in you survives every heartbreak, not because you forget the pain, but because you decide it's not stronger than your heart. You don't regret loving, you don't regret believing, you don't regret wanting something rare, because one day someone will meet you in that same place. They won't laugh at your intensity. They won't treat your love like it's extra. They won't ask you to tone it down. They'll recognize it, and when that happens, everything you held on to will make sense. So no, the lover boy in you doesn't die, he just waits. And when the right love finally arrives, he'll be ready. We all know that one friend who's genuinely a good guy, not the fake nice kind, not the kind that's only good when it benefits him. I mean the real kind, the one who listens more than he talks, the one who checks in just because, one who walks her home, texts, "Let me know when you get there," and actually waits for the reply, not for points, not for validation, just because that's who he is. He shows up when people call. He remembers small details. He gives effort without keeping score. And somehow, he's always the one that gets hurt. Girls say they want a good guy. They say they're tired of games, tired of being treated wrong. But when a good guy actually shows up, he gets pushed to the side, kept around just in case, treated like an option instead of a choice. He gets left on red, gets mixed signals, gets told, "You're amazing, just not right now." And then one day, he watches her choose someone who won't even do half of what he did. And the worst part? He doesn't complain about it, he jokes it off, acts like it doesn't bother him, plays it cool. But if you're paying attention, you see the change. He laughs less, questions himself more, starts wondering if being genuine is the problem. If caring too much makes him weak, if being a good guy even matters anymore, so he hardens a little, pulls back, stops giving as freely, not because he wants to be cold, but because the world keeps teaching him that softness gets punished. It reminds me of Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. Gentle, compassionate, kind even to people who don't deserve it. People mistake that kindness for weakness until they realize how much strength it actually takes to stay good in a cruel world. That's the truth people forget. Real strength isn't loud. It doesn't dominate. It doesn't need to prove itself. Real strength is staying kind when life gives you every reason not to be. So if you know a guy like that, be there for him. Remind him that his heart isn't a flaw, that being good isn't something he needs to outgrow, because one day someone is going to see him, really see him, and they won't make him pay for the damage done by people who couldn't handle his heart. And when that happens, being a good guy will finally feel worth it. What people don't realize is how early the good guy starts changing himself without even noticing. At first it's small, he replies a little slower, he stops double texting, he thinks twice before doing something thoughtful because he's scared it'll be taken the wrong way, not appreciated, or worse, ignored. He starts asking himself questions he never used to ask. Am I doing too much? Should I care less? Why do I always end up like this? And that's dangerous, because now he's learning to dull the very traits that made him special. The world doesn't break good guys all at once. It chips away at him slowly. Every time his effort isn't matched, every time his loyalty is taken for granted, every time he's told he's perfect but still not chosen. Eventually he starts building walls, not because he wants to play games, but because he's tired of being the only one who loses when he plays fair. He watches people who treat others poorly get rewarded with attention, love, and chances, and he wonders what he's doing wrong for choosing empathy instead of ego. But here's what nobody tells him. Being a good guy isn't about what you receive immediately, it's about who you become long-term. Patience he has, the emotional awareness, the ability to love deeply without needing control. Those qualities don't disappear just because they've been overlooked. They mature, and when the right person finally comes along, those same traits won't feel like a burden. They'll feel like safety, like home, like something rare in a world full of half-effort and emotional detachment. The good guy doesn't lose. He just waits longer for the right win. There's also something else the good guy carries that no one talks about. Guilt for feeling angry when he's treated unfairly, guilt for wanting to pull away, guilt for even questioning whether being kind is worth it anymore, because deep down he doesn't want to become someone he wouldn't recognize. So instead of expressing that frustration, he swallows it. He tells himself to be patient, to be understanding, to give people the benefit of the doubt, even when they've shown him who they are multiple times. And that self-control, that restraint, it takes more strength than most people will ever realize, but it comes at a cost. He starts to feel invisible, like his effort only matters when it's convenient for someone else, like his loyalty is expected, not appreciated. And the scariest part isn't that people take advantage of him, it's that he starts expecting it. That's when the good guy begins to question his worth, not in a dramatic way, quietly, internally. He wonders if he needs to be colder to be respected, louder to be noticed, less caring to be chosen. And even though he doesn't like those thoughts, they creep in anyway. But here's the truth he needs to hear. The world doesn't need more detached people pretending they don't care. It needs more people who choose kindness, even when it's inconvenient. More people who know how to love without manipulation. More people who stay solid when everything around them feels fake. The good guy isn't weak for feeling deeply. He's strong for not letting pain turn him into something he's not. And one day that integrity will matter more than all the times he was overlooked. At some point, the good guy has to learn a hard lesson. Being kind doesn't mean being available to everyone. Being loyal doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. And having a good heart doesn't mean you owe it to people who keep proving they don't know how to handle it. This is usually the stage where he starts choosing himself. Not in a selfish way, not in a bitter way, but in a quiet, self-respecting way. He stops chasing people who only reach out when it's convenient. He stops over-explaining his intentions. He stops proving that he's different. Because the truth is, the right people don't need convincing. The good guy learns that boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They don't block love, they block misuse. And once he understands that, everything changes. He becomes more selective with his energy, more intentional with who gets access to him. He still cares deeply, but now it's earned. This is where his strength really shows. He doesn't become cruel, he doesn't become cold, he just becomes aware. He learns that love shouldn't feel like constantly waiting your turn, that effort shouldn't feel one-sided, that if someone truly values you, they won't make you question where you stand. And when he finally meets someone who matches his energy, who sees his kindness as safety instead of weakness, it clicks. All the waiting, all the hurt, all the doubt, it suddenly makes sense. Because the good guy wasn't wrong for being good. He was just giving his heart to the wrong people. There's a moment where the good guy finally realized something important. He was never meant to be understood by everyone. His way of loving was never designed for people who thrive on attention, chaos, or option. It was meant for someone who values depth, consistency, and intention. And once that clicks, he stops feeling ashamed of who he is. He understands now that not everyone deserves access to his softness, that some people only know how to take, not receive. And that doesn't make him naive, it makes him discerning. He doesn't need to change his heart, he just needs to protect it better. The good guy learns how to walk away without guilt, not because he stopped caring, but because he started caring about himself too. He learns that choosing peace over potential isn't giving up, it's growth. That silence is sometimes the loudest form of self-respect, and slowly something shifts. He speaks clearer, stops apologizing for having standards. He no longer wonders if being a good guy is worth it. He knows it is, because even if the world tried to harden him, it didn't succeed. He stayed true, and that integrity, that's something no one can take from him. One day, someone will meet him where he is. They won't question his intention. They won't test his loyalty. They won't confuse kindness for weakness. They'll recognize it immediately, and they'll protect it the same way he does. Until then, the good guy keeps moving forward, not bitter, not broken, just wiser. And when that day comes, it won't feel dramatic. It won't feel like a movie moment where everything suddenly makes sense all at once. It'll feel calm, familiar, almost quiet, because the right person won't make the good guy question himself. They won't make him wonder if he's doing too much or not enough. They won't make him feel like he has to shrink his heart to be accepted. They'll meet him where he stands. They'll appreciate the way he listens, the way he shows up, the way he loves without keeping score. And for the first time, he won't feel like his kindness is a liability. It'll feel like a gift, something mutual, something protected, something finally returned. The good guy won't have to explain himself anymore. He won't have to prove that his intentions are real. He won't have to play it cool or pretend he doesn't care. He'll be allowed to be exactly who he is, and that'll be enough. Until then, the journey matters. Every disappointment taught him boundaries. Every heartbreak taught him discernment. Every moment of doubt sharpened his sense of self. He didn't lose those years being overlooked. He was being prepared to recognize real love when it shows up, prepared to walk away from anything that feels half-hearted, prepared to protect his heart without hardening. So if you're that good guy reading this, don't change. Don't let the world convince you that you need to become colder to survive. Stay solid, stay honest, stay kind. Just be selective with who gets that version of you. Because the world doesn't need fewer good guys. It needs people brave enough to stay good even when it's easier not to. What people never see is how much discipline it takes for the good guy to stay the way he is. Every bad experience tempts him to harden up. Every time he's overlooked, replaced, or taken for granted, there's a voice in his head telling him to stop caring so much, to move differently, to love less, to become like everyone else. But he doesn't. Not because it's easy, but but because he knows who he is. He understands now that changing his character to fit a broken system would only cost him himself, and losing yourself just to be chosen by the wrong people is a price that's too high. So instead of becoming colder, he becomes more intentional. Instead of closing his heart, he narrows the door. He learns that being good doesn't mean being accessible to everyone. It means being principled. It means having the strength to say no, to walk away, to choose solitude over disrespect. And that kind of self-control, that's rare. The good guy also learns to forgive, not to excuse what hurt him, but to free himself from carrying resentment. He doesn't want bitterness living rent-free in his heart. He wants peace, growth, clarity, and forgiveness is part of that process. And one day, when someone finally meets him with the same depth, the same consistency, the same effort, he'll recognize it immediately. Not because it feels intense, but because it feels familiar. Until then, he keeps building, keeps healing, keeps choosing integrity over impulse, because the good guy isn't waiting to be saved. He's becoming someone worth meeting. In the end, the good guy doesn't get a dramatic apology from everyone who hurt him. He doesn't get closure from every situation that left scars. And he doesn't get a moment where the world suddenly admits it was wrong for overlooking him. What he gets is something quiet and far more powerful. He gets peace. Peace in knowing he never had to become someone else to survive. Peace in knowing his heart stayed intact even after everything. Peace in knowing he loved honestly in a world that often rewards the opposite. He looks back and realizes that every time he was ignored, every time he was treated like an option, every time he was underestimated, it wasn't a reflection of his worth. It was a reflection of who couldn't meet him where he stood. And that understanding changes everything, because now he doesn't crave validation. He doesn't chase attention. He doesn't beg to be chosen. He knows who he is, and when love finally finds him, the kind that's mutual, intentional, and steady, it won't feel like winning. It'll feel like alignment, like finally being understood without having to explain yourself, like being valued without having to prove. Until then, the good guy keeps walking forward, not bitter, not resentful, not hard, just grounded. And that's the kind of strength no one can take. Let this be a reminder for you, not tomorrow, not when things finally get better. Right now, you are a genuinely amazing human being, even if you don't feel like it lately. And I know maybe life hit you harder than you expected. Maybe someone you trusted dimmed your light. Maybe you slowly stopped recognizing yourself because you've been in survival mode for too long. But losing your spark doesn't mean it's gone forever. It just means you've been tired. You have so much potential in this world, and I don't say that lightly. There are qualities about you that people would do anything to have. Your heart, your ability to care deeply, the way you keep showing up even when you feel empty, the way you keep going even when nobody claps for you. That strength alone says more about you than you realize. You deserve happiness, not the kind you have to chase endlessly, but the kind that feels calm. You deserve confidence, not arrogance, but confidence rooted in knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. You deserve to love yourself without feeling guilty for it, without feeling like you need permission, without feeling like you haven't earned it yet. Somewhere along the way, you might have started believing you weren't enough. Maybe someone treated you like you were replaceable. Maybe life kept taking without giving back. And slowly, you stopped being kind to yourself. You stopped celebrating your wins. You stopped acknowledging how far you've come. But look at you. You're still here, still trying, still growing. That alone deserves recognition. I need reminders like this too. We all do. Nobody walks through life feeling confident every single day. Nobody has it all figured out. The difference is learning to speak to yourself with the same compassion you give to everyone else. Learning to pause and say, I'm doing my best and that is enough for today. So if this showed up on your feed, take it as a sign. Take a breath. Think of one thing you're grateful for, one thing you like about yourself, one small win you had recently, even if it feels insignificant. Because nothing about your existence is insignificant. You matter more than you think. You bring something to this world that nobody else can replace. And even on days when you feel invisible, even on days when you doubt yourself, your presence still holds value. Don't forget that. Not today. Not ever. She made me feel loved. Not in a loud way. Not in a dramatic way. In a steady way. She checked in. She listened. She remembered the small things. And the crazy part? I didn't know what to do with it. Because when you're used to chaos, consistency feels unfamiliar. When you're used to chasing, being chosen feels suspicious. She wasn't confusing, she wasn't distant, she wasn't playing games. She was just there. and for some reason that scared me more than anything. Healthy love feels calm, and when you're used to chaos, calm can feel boring. There were no mixed signals, no guessing games, no hot and cold energy. She didn't make me question where I stood, and that was new. I was used to intensity, late night arguments, emotional highs and lows, passion that felt like a roller coaster. With her, it was steady, and instead of relaxing into it, I started looking for something wrong. Because when you've been conditioned to associate love with anxiety, peace feels unfamiliar. You mistake stability for a lack of spark, consistency for predictability, security for missing something. But the truth, nothing was missing. I just didn't know how to receive love that didn't hurt first. Sometimes we don't sabotage love because we don't care. We sabotage it because we don't feel worthy of it. She showed up consistently, she communicated clearly, she didn't make me chase, and instead of feeling grateful, I felt exposed, because when someone loves you properly, they see you, not just the confident version, not just the charming version. The insecure parts too, the guarded parts, the parts that still haven't healed. And when you don't fully love yourself, being loved deeply feels uncomfortable. You start thinking, what if she realizes I'm not as solid as I seem? What if she expects more than I can give? What if I mess this up? So you create distance first, you act unsure, you slow down, you convince yourself the timing isn't right, not because she wasn't enough, but because you didn't feel like you were. I told myself it wasn't the right time, that I needed to focus on myself, that I wasn't in the right headspace, that something felt off, but if I'm being honest, nothing was off. I was just scared of being responsible for something real. Scared of being consistent, scared of not being able to hide behind confusion anymore. Because when someone loves you right, there's no chaos to blame, no mixed signals to point at, no drama to distract you. It's just clarity, and clarity means accountability. I couldn't say she didn't show up, she did. I couldn't say she wasn't serious, she was. So the only thing left to question was myself, and that's harder than walking away. You don't always realize what you had while you have it. Sometimes you realize it in the silence after, when the good morning texts stop, when the consistency disappears, when the calm you once questioned is suddenly gone. And that's when it hits. She wasn't boring, she was safe, she wasn't too available, she was intentional. She wasn't lacking spark, she just wasn't chaos. I confused stability with something missing because I was addicted to intensity. And now that it's quiet, I see it clearly. She wasn't asking for too much. She was offering exactly what I claimed I wanted, and the hardest part is realizing she didn't leave because she didn't care. She left because I hesitated. Growth doesn't always happen while you're in something good. Sometimes it happens after you lose it, after the silence, after the distance, after you sit alone with no one to blame but yourself. That's when reflection hits differently. You replay conversations, moments you brushed off, times she asked for reassurance and you gave her half answers, not because you didn't care, but because you weren't mature enough yet to handle something healthy. And the painful part, you finally become the version of yourself that she needed, clearer, more emotionally aware, more ready, but she's not there anymore. And that's the lesson. Sometimes the right person meets you at the wrong version of yourself, and losing them is what forces you to grow. Now the question is different. Do I reach back out, or do I let her have the peace I couldn't give her before because missing someone isn't the same as being ready for them? Regret can feel like growth, loneliness can feel like clarity, but are you actually different, or do you just miss how she made you feel? That's the part nobody talks about. It's easy to want someone back when you finally understand their value. It's harder to admit you might still not be the version they deserve. Reaching out isn't about easing your guilt. It's about being certain you won't repeat the same pattern. Because if she loved you right once, she deserves someone who can love her right back. And if that's finally you, then show up differently. If it's not, let her be loved properly by someone who was ready the first time. Being ready isn't about having your life perfect. It's about emotional responsibility. It's about being able to communicate without shutting down. being consistent without feeling trapped, being vulnerable without running when it gets real. I thought being ready meant having money right, career right, timing right, but she didn't need perfection. She needed presence. She needed reassurance without having to beg for it. She needed clarity without having to decode it. She needed someone who didn't confuse peace with boredom. And the truth, I wasn't emotionally disciplined enough. I like being loved, but I wasn't ready to love back at the same level. And that's the difference. Being ready means you don't just enjoy the love, you reciprocate it fully. Was losing her a mistake, or was it a lesson I had to learn the hard way? At first it felt like a mistake, like I let something rare slip through my hands, like I fumbled the one person who actually showed up right. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized something. If I wasn't ready, I would have hurt her eventually. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but through inconsistency, through hesitation, through emotional immaturity. And she didn't deserve that. Sometimes the loss isn't punishment, it's preparation. Preparation to become the version of yourself who doesn't run from healthy love, who doesn't confuse peace with boredom, who doesn't sabotage stability. Maybe she wasn't meant to stay forever. Maybe she was meant to show me what real love looks like, so I'd stop settling for less and stop being less. And that doesn't erase the regret, but it gives it meaning. Will she ever know how much she meant to me? Probably not in the way she deserved, because when she was loving me out loud, I was loving her quietly. When she was certain, I was unsure. When she was present, I was half in. And now that I finally understand her value, it's in hindsight. But here's what I do know. She raised my standard, not just for what I want, but for who I need to be. She showed me that love doesn't have to be chaotic to be real, that consistency isn't boring, that reassurance isn't weakness, that stability is rare, and maybe she'll never know how much she changed me. Maybe she'll never know that losing her is what forced me to grow. But one day, when I love someone the right way, fully, clearly, consistently, a part of that will be because of her, because she loved me right, even when I wasn't ready, and that's something I'll always respect. I stayed loyal, even when it got hard, even when we were arguing more than laughing, even when my friends were telling me I deserved better, even when I felt unappreciated. I stayed, not because I didn't have options, not because I couldn't walk away, but because when I commit fully. Loyalty isn't something I switch on and off depending on how I feel that week. It's a decision, and I made it. I ignored distractions, I curved attention, I shut down conversations that crossed boundaries, not because I was scared of getting caught, but because I respected what we had. So when I found out she didn't stay loyal, it didn't just hurt, it confused me. Because how do two people sit in the same relationship and value it completely differently? The part that messed with me wasn't just the betrayal, it was a realization that while I was protecting us, she was exploring her options. While I was defending her name in rooms she wasn't in, she was entertaining someone else's attention. While I was shutting down temptation quietly, she was responding to it. And that imbalance hits deeper than people realize, because loyalty isn't loud. You don't get applause for it. No one congratulates you for not cheating. It's invisible, it's internal, it's discipline. So when you find out the person you were loyal to didn't have that same discipline, it makes you feel stupid for being solid, like you overinvested, like you believed in something that wasn't mutual. I started replaying everything, was she distant because she was already talking to someone else? Were those late replies really just being busy? Was I fighting for something that was already slipping away? Because once trust cracks, your mind rewrites history. You start connecting dots that might not even be there. And that's exhausting, because loyalty is built on trust, and once trust is broken, even your memories feel unstable. I wasn't perfect, but I was faithful. And that matters, because loyalty isn't about being flawless, it's about being intentional. It's about choosing your partner even when temptation is available. It's about respecting boundaries even when no one is watching. And I did that, she didn't. What hurts the most is knowing I would have never done that to her. I wouldn't have risked what we built for a moment of validation. I wouldn't have jeopardized long-term trust for short-term attention because I understood the weight of betrayal, and she didn't treat it like it was heavy. That's what breaks something inside you, not just the act, the carelessness, because cheating isn't always about love disappearing. Sometimes it's about discipline disappearing. And if someone lacks discipline and loyalty, they'll lack it when things get hard too. For a while I questioned myself. Was I too available, too forgiving, too trusting? Did my loyalty make me predictable? Because when you get betrayed, your brain tries to find ways to avoid feeling powerless again. But here's the truth. My loyalty wasn't weakness, it was character. And her disloyalty wasn't power, it was immaturity. There's a difference. One requires strength, the other requires impulse. People think being cheated on makes you look foolish, but the real foolishness is betraying someone who was solid. I lost someone who didn't value loyalty. She lost someone who actually lived by it, and those are two very different losses because I can recover, I can heal, I can rebuild, but replacing someone who is genuinely loyal, that's harder than people think. I don't regret staying loyal, even knowing how it ended, because my character doesn't shift based on someone else's behavior. I don't cheat because I'm angry. I don't entertain options because I'm bored. I don't step out because things feel heavy. If I'm unhappy, I leave. I don't betray, and that standard stays with me, not for her, for me. The scary part after betrayal is this: you start wondering if loyalty is even worth it, if everyone cheats eventually, if trusting deeply just makes you vulnerable. But I refuse to let someone else's lack of integrity change mine, because loyalty isn't outdated, it's rare, and rare doesn't mean foolish, it means valuable. She didn't stay loyal, but that says nothing about my worth. It says everything about her discipline, her boundaries, her emotional maturity, because if someone can look at loyalty and still step outside it, they were never anchored. And I don't want someone who floats when things get tested. I want someone who stands. I stayed loyal, even when it was inconvenient, even when it was tempting not to, even when I felt underappreciated, and I'll stay that way. Not because everyone deserves it, but because I deserve to be someone who lives by principle. She didn't stay loyal, and that hurt, but I'd rather be the one who was solid than the one who couldn't hold a commitment, because loyalty doesn't make you weak, it makes you rare, and one day someone will recognize that instead of testing it. I don't think love works anymore, not the way it used to, not the way we were told it would, because everything about it feels fragile now, disposable, temporary. I used to believe love was something you built and protected, something you chose every day, something that got stronger the more you worked through it. Now it feels like something people try on, like an outfit, like a phase, like something that lasts until it becomes inconvenient. And maybe that's just my experience talking. Maybe I'm jaded, maybe I'm tired, but it's hard not to feel this way when you've watched effort get ignored, loyalty get tested, and consistency get replaced with excitement. It feels like the people who care the most lose the fastest. The ones who communicate openly get labeled too much. The ones who stay calm get called boring. The ones who try to build something stable get overlooked for something unpredictable. And I don't understand when stability became unattractive. When did peace start feeling dull? When did consistency start feeling optional? When did love turn into a competition of who cares less? Because that's what it feels like now. Who replies slower? Who shows less emotion? Who keeps more options open? Who can detach quicker? It feels like the winner in modern love is the one who invests the least, and that doesn't make sense to me, because love was never supposed to be strategic, it was supposed to be mutual, it was supposed to feel safe, it was supposed to feel intentional, but now it feels like leverage, it feels like power dynamics, it feels like emotional poker, and I'm tired of pretending that doesn't affect me. I don't want to play games, I don't want to pretend I don't care just to protect myself, I don't want to withhold affection just to maintain mystery. But every time I show up genuinely, it feels like I lose. And after enough losses, you start questioning the system, not yourself, the system. Because if doing things the right way keeps ending the wrong way, you start wondering if the rules changed, and maybe they did. Social media makes everyone feel replaceable. Dating apps make options endless. Attention is constant. Validation is everywhere, so commitment feels outdated. Why work through something uncomfortable when you can scroll into something new? Why communicate through confusion when you can ghost and reset? Why fix when you can replace? And I hate that mindset, but I see it everywhere. And after a while, it makes you wonder if love is even designed to last in this environment. If loyalty is rare, if depth is rare, if patience is rare. And when something is rare, it's harder to find. And when it's harder to find, you start feeling like maybe it doesn't work anymore. Not because love isn't real, but because people aren't built to sustain it. And that's the scariest thought, because I don't want to become cold. I don't want to stop believing, but I'm tired of investing in something that feels unstable. I'm tired of building just to watch it collapse. I'm tired of thinking something is solid just to realize it was temporary. And maybe love still works. Maybe it's just harder to find. Maybe it requires more maturity than most people are willing to bring. But right now, it feels broken. Not love itself, but the way we handle it. And I don't know if that's pessimism talking or experience. I think what makes me say, I don't think love works anymore isn't bitterness, it's exhaustion. Because every time I try to approach it the right way, intentional, honest, consistent, it feels like I'm bringing depth into a space that rewards detachment. And after a while, you start feeling like you're built wrong for this era. Like maybe you care too much. Like maybe you expect too much. Like maybe you still believe in something that everyone else quietly downgraded. It feels like effort used to mean something. Now effort feels risky. Because the more you give, the more exposed you are. And exposure in modern dating feels dangerous. The one who opens up first is vulnerable. The one who commits first is replaceable. The one who expresses feelings first is too invested. So people hold back. They ration affection. They ration honesty. They ration effort. And when both people are rationing, nothing fully forms. It becomes this half-built connection where nobody is fully in, just partially attached and partially guarded. And that's where love starts to feel like it doesn't work, because love requires surrender, not recklessness. Not obsession, but surrender. You have to be willing to be seen, willing to risk loss, willing to invest without guaranteed return. And nobody wants to do that anymore. Everyone wants certainty before commitment, proof before vulnerability, security before effort. But that's not how love works. Love is built in uncertainty. It's built in risk. It's built in choosing someone without knowing the full outcome. And we live in a time where uncertainty feels intolerable. We want options. We want backup. We want insurance. So instead of building depth with one person, we keep one foot out the door just in case. And you can't build something real with one foot already outside. That's why it feels broken. Not because love itself stopped working, but because we approach it defensively now. And I get it. People have been hurt. People have been betrayed. People have been replaced, so they protect themselves. But protection can slowly turn into detachment, and detachment kills depth. You can't love deeply if you're constantly calculating exits. You can't bond securely if you're scanning for upgrades. You can't build trust if you're always half preparing for collapse. And I'm tired of feeling like I have to adapt to that. I don't want to love strategically. I don't want to care less just to stay safe. I don't want to pretend I don't feel strongly just to avoid looking invested. But when you keep getting hurt for showing up fully, you start wondering if maybe the world rewards the opposite. And that's where the doubt creeps in. Maybe love doesn't work anymore because too many people are operating from fear instead of intention. Too many people want the feeling of love without the responsibility of it. They want butterflies but not boundaries, excitement but not effort, chemistry but not consistency, and chemistry fades without consistency. Excitement fades without stability. Butterflies disappear when there's no structure holding them, so relationships collapse. And instead of reflecting, people reset, and the cycle continues. And when you've seen that cycle enough times, it's hard not to feel like something fundamental shifted. Like the culture around love changed. Like commitment feels heavier now. Like loyalty feels optional. Like patience feels outdated. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are still people who believe in depth. Maybe there are still people who value stability. Maybe there are still people who don't treat connection like it's disposable. But when your personal experiences keep showing the opposite, it's hard to stay optimistic. It's hard to believe love works when everything around it feels temporary. And I don't want to lose faith, but I also don't want to keep pretending it's easy, because it's not anymore. And maybe love still works, but maybe it only works when two people are equally ready to stop playing defense, and that combination feels rare, not impossible, just rare. And rare takes patience, and patience feels hard when you've already invested so much of it before. So yeah, right now it feels broken. But maybe what's broken isn't love. Maybe it's how we've learned to approach it, and that might be fixable, but only if both people are willing to actually build instead of constantly preparing to leave. Maybe the real reason I don't think love works anymore is because it feels like timing is always off. You meet someone who seems aligned, you connect, you talk for hours, you feel understood, and then something small shifts. Not dramatic, not explosive, just subtle. They pull back slightly, energy changes, consistency drops, and instead of addressing it directly, things fade. That's what modern love feels like. Not endings, fading, no real closure, no real confrontation, just gradual detachment, and it leaves you questioning everything. Did I imagine the connection? Did I misread the depth? Did they ever feel it the way I did? Because when something ends without clarity, your mind fills in the blanks, and most of the time the blanks aren't kind. You start blaming yourself. Maybe I was too much, maybe I wasn't enough, maybe I moved too fast, maybe I didn't move fast enough, and that mental spiral gets exhausting. Love starts feeling like a puzzle with missing pieces. Like no matter how carefully you approach it, something unpredictable shifts. And maybe that unpredictability is what makes it feel broken, because love requires stability to grow. You can't build something meaningful on inconsistent ground. You can't plant something deep in unstable soil. And right now, everything feels unstable. People are distracted. Attention spans are shorter. Validation is constant. It's hard to compete with instant dopamine, because love isn't instant dopamine. It's slow burn. It's repetition. It's routine. It's choosing someone again and again, even when the excitement settles. And we live in a culture that constantly chases the next high. So once comfort replaces adrenaline, people confuse it with boredom. Once peace replaces intensity, people think something's missing. But peace isn't missing something. Peace is the goal. And maybe that's why love feels like it doesn't work anymore. Because people are chasing sparks instead of substance. They want fireworks every day, but fireworks aren't sustainable. They're loud, they're bright, they're temporary. Real love isn't fireworks, it's foundation, and foundations aren't flashy. They're steady, and steady doesn't trend well. Steady doesn't go viral. Steady doesn't give you constant emotional spikes, but steady is what lasts. And maybe we forgot that. Maybe we've confused intensity with compatibility. Maybe we've confused excitement with alignment. Maybe we've confused attention with affection. And when those illusions fade, people assume love failed. But maybe love didn't fail. Maybe expectations did. Still, it's hard not to feel tired. Because every time you start believing in something new, you're also bracing for impact. You don't enter connections open anymore. You enter them cautiously, guarded, prepared, and the guarded energy changes everything. Because love thrives in openness, and guarded hearts can't fully attach. So it becomes this cycle. People get hurt, they protect themselves, they enter something new with walls up. The connection never fully forms, it collapses. They say, see, love doesn't work. But maybe the walls are the problem. maybe we're all trying to avoid pain so aggressively that we're also avoiding depth, and I don't know how to fix that, because I understand why people guard themselves. I do it too. After enough disappointment, you start building armor, but armor blocks connection just as much as it blocks harm, and that's the dilemma. How do you stay open in a world that keeps showing you how easy it is to be replaced? How do you trust when you've seen how quickly people move on? How do you believe in permanence when everything feels temporary? Those questions don't have easy answers, and that's why sometimes it feels easier to just say, love doesn't work anymore, because admitting it feels broken, feels safer than admitting you're still hoping it does, and maybe that's the truth. Maybe I don't actually think love is broken. Maybe I'm just scared that I won't find someone who approaches it the way I do, someone who values depth over dopamine, stability over sparks, consistency over chaos, because if that kind of person still exists, then maybe love still works. It's just rare, and rare feels invisible when you've only experienced the opposite. So maybe love isn't broken, maybe the way we approach it is, and maybe the real challenge isn't finding love. It's finding someone who isn't playing defense the whole time, because love can't work if both people are preparing for it to fail. It only works when both decide to build, not brace, and that's what I'm still trying to believe. I think what really makes me say love doesn't work anymore is how disposable everything feels. Nothing feels permanent. Not feelings, not promises, not even history. You can spend months building something with someone. Routines, memories, habits, inside jokes, and then one day it's like it never happened. They move on, they reset, they rebrand their life without you in it, and you're left sitting there wondering how something that felt so real could be treated so lightly. It makes you question whether permanence even exists anymore. Because love used to mean endurance. It used to mean working through discomfort. It used to mean fighting for connection when things got complicated. Now it feels like the moment things feel heavy, people exit. The moment conflict shows up, people reconsider. The moment effort is required consistently, people get tired, and I'm not saying everyone is like that, but it's common enough that it starts to feel normal, and when something unhealthy becomes normalized, you start adjusting your expectations, you start lowering standards without even realizing it. You start telling yourself, maybe this is just how it is now, maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe stability is unrealistic, and that's the dangerous part, because once you start believing depth is unrealistic, you start accepting less than you deserve. You start settling for half effort, half commitment, half presence, and half love never feels secure. It feels temporary. It feels like you're constantly on probation. Like you have to maintain value instead of simply being valued, and that's exhausting. Love shouldn't feel like an audition. It shouldn't feel like you're being evaluated weekly. It shouldn't feel like you're one mistake away from being replaced, but that's what modern dating culture does. It keeps everyone slightly disposable because there's always another option, and options change the psychology of commitment. Now, when people feel like there's endless supply, they don't invest deeply. They sample, they test, they compare, they upgrade. And depth requires focus. You can't build something meaningful if you're constantly scanning the horizon. And I'm tired of feeling like depth is rare, like loyalty is rare, like emotional maturity is rare. Because if those things are rare, then sustainable love becomes rare too. And when something becomes rare, it starts feeling mythical, like a concept instead of a reality. And I don't want love to feel mythical. I want it to feel grounded, attainable, real, but it's hard to believe in that when everything around you looks temporary. It's hard to stay optimistic when you've watched people replace long-term connections in weeks, when you've seen loyalty get overlooked for excitement, when you've seen communication get labeled as too intense. It makes you question if the qualities you value are even appreciated anymore. And I refuse to become colder just to survive in this environment, but sometimes I understand why people do. because caring fully feels risky, showing up fully feels vulnerable, and vulnerability feels unsafe when you've seen how quickly people pivot. So instead of opening fully, people guard. Instead of committing deeply, people hesitate. Instead of building, people browse. And browsing never creates attachment, it creates distraction. So maybe love doesn't feel like it works anymore, because too many people are browsing instead of building. Too many people are entertaining instead of committing. Too many people are protecting themselves instead of participating fully. And when both people are slightly guarded, slightly detached, slightly prepared to leave, the connection never roots deeply, it stays surface level. And surface level love doesn't survive pressure, it collapses the moment something real tests it. And that collapse reinforces the belief, see, love doesn't work. But maybe love isn't failing, maybe it's just not being handled properly. Maybe it requires two people who are equally tired of games, equally tired of ego, equally ready to stop scanning and start building. And that combination is rare, not impossible, just rare. And when something is rare, it takes time to find. But when you've already waited, already invested, already tried, it's hard not to feel discouraged. It's hard not to say, maybe this just doesn't work anymore. Because hope feels heavy when you've carried it through disappointment repeatedly. Still, there's a small part of me that refuses to fully give up, not because I haven't been hurt, but because I know what depth feels like, and I know I'm capable of giving it. So maybe love doesn't feel broken, maybe it just feels misaligned. Maybe I haven't met someone operating at the same level yet. And maybe love only doesn't work when one person is building and the other is browsing. And next time I won't settle for someone who's just browsing, because I'm done treating love like something experimental. I want something intentional. And if that's rare, then I'll wait. But I won't pretend that what's common right now feels functional, because it doesn't. And that's why sometimes it feels broken. Another reason I feel like love doesn't work anymore is because nobody seems patient enough for it. Real love is repetitive. It's waking up and choosing the same person on regular days, not just exciting ones. It's having conversations that aren't aesthetic. It's working through misunderstandings. It's sitting in awkward silence sometimes. It's resolving conflict instead of avoiding it. And patience feels rare now. The moment something feels complicated, people start questioning compatibility instead of questioning their communication. The moment effort feels required, people start asking if there's someone easier. The moment discomfort shows up, people confuse it with wrong person. But discomfort isn't always misalignment. Sometimes it's growth, sometimes it's two different perspectives trying to learn each other. And learning takes time, but time feels expensive in a world where attention is cheap. It's easier to restart with someone new than it is to repair with someone familiar. It's easier to chase a fresh high than maintain steady connection. It's easier to scroll than sit, and when everything around you reinforces immediacy, patience feels outdated. But love has never been immediate. It starts fast sometimes, and sure, but it sustains slowly. And sustainability isn't exciting, it's disciplined, it's structured, it's built. And I think a lot of people want the feeling of falling in love, but not the responsibility of staying in love. Falling is automatic, staying is intentional, falling feels magical, staying feels deliberate, and deliberate takes effort, and effort feels optional now. That's what makes it feel broken. Because if two people aren't equally patient, equally committed to working through friction, the relationship never stabilizes. It stays fragile, and fragile things shatter easily. Then everyone says, see, it didn't work, but maybe it didn't work because it was never given time to become strong. You can't plant something and expect it to grow overnight, but people expect emotional security immediately. They expect certainty quickly. They expect perfection early. And when reality shows flaws, they exit instead of adjusting. And after experiencing that enough times, you start questioning whether anyone actually stays long enough to build something durable. It's exhausting to be the only one willing to sit in discomfort and talk it through. It's exhausting to be the only one committed to fixing instead of fleeing. It's exhausting to feel like you're building while the other person is evaluating, and evaluation kills intimacy. Because if someone is constantly assessing whether you're worth it, they're never fully in. They're half invested, half prepared to leave. And love doesn't grow in half investment, it grows in commitment. So maybe love doesn't feel broken, maybe commitment does, maybe patience does, maybe resilience does, because real love requires all three, and without them it collapses under the weight of normal human imperfection, and humans are imperfect, always, which means love will always require forgiveness, always require communication, always require choosing someone even when it's not convenient, and if people aren't willing to do that consistently, then yeah, it starts to feel like love doesn't work anymore because nobody is sustaining it long enough to see it mature, and maturity is where love actually becomes powerful, not in the butterflies, not in the early intensity, but in the stability that comes after. And maybe we're just living in a time that glorifies the beginning but undervalues the maintenance, and maintenance isn't sexy, but it's essential. And I'm not ready to say love is dead, but I am ready to admit that patience feels endangered, and without patience, nothing lasting survives. Maybe love doesn't feel like it works anymore because nobody trusts it. Not fully, not without hesitation. Everyone says they want something real, but when something real starts forming, fear shows up faster than commitment. Fear of being replaced, fear of being cheated on, fear of being the one who cares more, fear of looking stupid. So instead of leaning in, people brace. They stay slightly detached. They keep backup options emotionally. They don't say everything they feel. They don't invest fully. And when two people are both protecting themselves at the same time, nothing deep ever roots. It becomes this cautious connection where both are waiting for the other to prove something first. Show me you won't leave. Show me you're serious. Show me I'm safe. But safety doesn't come from interrogation. It comes from participation. And participation requires risk. That's the part that feels lost now. Nobody wants to risk looking foolish for love, but love has always required that. You have to be willing to look foolish, to say I care first, to show up consistently even when you don't know the outcome, to invest without a guarantee, and guarantees don't exist. So instead of risking vulnerability, people risk nothing. They test, they observe, they calculate, they delay emotional investment until it feels secure. But emotional security doesn't grow from calculation. It grows from consistency, and consistency requires trust, and trust requires vulnerability. It's a cycle, and when one part is missing, the whole structure collapses. So maybe love feels broken because too many people are trying to feel safe before they've actually built anything safe. They want certainty before commitment, but certainty is something you earn together, not something you demand up front. And I get it. Nobody wants to be hurt again. Nobody wants to feel like the fool who cared more. Nobody wants to invest months just to be replaced in weeks. But if both people are guarding themselves at all times, love never gets a chance to breathe. It suffocates under suspicion, it weakens under ego, it dissolves under comparison, and comparison is everywhere now. We compare partners to people online, we compare relationships to curated timelines, we compare our connection to someone else's highlight reel, and comparison erodes gratitude. It makes you focus on what's missing instead of what's present, and when gratitude fades, dissatisfaction grows, and dissatisfaction looks for alternatives, and alternatives are always available now, so commitment feels heavier than ever, because staying means choosing one thing in a world full of options, and that feels scary to people who haven't learned how to be content. And that's another part of why it feels like love doesn't work, because contentment is rare, and without contentment, nothing feels enough. Not the effort, not the loyalty, not the stability. There's always a what if, and what if is poison to commitment. What if there's someone better? What if I'm settling? What if this isn't the highest version of love? But love isn't about maximizing, it's about choosing. And choice requires focus, and focus requires discipline. And discipline isn't romanticized anymore. Excitement is, intensity is, instant chemistry is. But chemistry alone can't sustain anything. It ignites, it doesn't stabilize, and maybe that's why love feels like it fails. Because people confuse ignition with foundation. They fall fast, they burn bright, they collapse quickly. And then they say, see? Love doesn't work. But maybe what didn't work was patience. Maybe what didn't work was emotional maturity. Maybe what didn't work was two people being equally willing to commit without constantly scanning for something better. I don't think love stopped working. I think standards changed. I think attention got divided. I think ego got louder. And I think fear got stronger. And fear makes people protect themselves in ways that sabotage the very thing they want. So when I say I don't think love works anymore, maybe what I really mean is I don't see enough people willing to handle it properly. Because love is simple. People complicate it. Love is consistent. People are inconsistent. Love is intentional. People are distracted. And until two people show up ready to be disciplined about connection, not just excited about it, it's going to keep feeling unstable. And that's exhausting, because I don't want to approach love like a risk assessment. I want to approach it like a build. But building requires two architects, not one builder and one evaluator. And maybe that's the real challenge, not finding love, but finding someone who isn't quietly preparing for it to fail. Because love only doesn't work when someone stops working at it. And too many people stop the moment it requires effort instead of adrenaline. And I'm tired of adrenaline. I want foundation. And until I find someone who wants foundation too, it's gonna feel broken. Another reason it feels like love doesn't work anymore is because people are addicted to potential more than presence. They fall in love with what something could be instead of what it actually is. They fall for the idea, the fantasy, the imagined future. But when reality sets in, flaws, habits, differences, instead of adjusting expectations, they downgrade the connection. It's like people want perfection in a human body, and humans aren't perfect. So the moment imperfection shows up, doubt follows. She could be better. He could be more. This might not be the best I can get. And that mindset destroys contentment. Because if you're always wondering if something better exists, you'll never water what's in front of you. You'll keep browsing instead of building. And browsing doesn't create depth. It creates comparison. And comparison slowly poisons appreciation. You stop seeing what someone does for you. You focus on what they don't. You stop valuing consistency. You crave excitement. And excitement is unstable. Love isn't built on constant excitement. It's built on reliability. And reliability feels boring if you're addicted to adrenaline. That's the uncomfortable truth. Some people don't want peace. They want chaos that feels passionate. They want intensity that feels cinematic. They want love to look like a movie, dramatic, emotional, unpredictable, but real love is structured. It's routine. It's sometimes quiet, and quiet doesn't trend. Quiet doesn't feel thrilling, but quiet is secure. And security is rare in a world that rewards unpredictability. So when someone gives you stability, it feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels uncomfortable, and uncomfortable gets labeled as not right, so they leave, and then they chase something that feels intense again, and that cycle repeats, and every time it collapses, they say, love just doesn't work for me. But maybe it's not love that's failing, maybe it's expectations, maybe it's the craving for perfection, maybe it's the refusal to accept that long-term connection requires compromise and discipline, because compromise doesn't mean settling, it means adjusting, it means understanding that no person will check every box, it means valuing depth over dopamine. and dopamine fades, depth stays, but depth requires maturity. And maturity isn't loud, it's subtle, it's calm, it's secure enough to not constantly question whether something better exists, and that kind of security feels rare right now. It feels like people want love to feel good every second, but no connection feels good every second. There are misunderstandings, bad days, moments of frustration, and if someone expects constant emotional highs, they'll leave the moment it feels neutral. And neutral isn't bad. Neutral is stable, but stability doesn't give you butterflies, it gives you peace, and peace feels unfamiliar in a culture addicted to stimulation. So yeah, sometimes it feels like love doesn't work anymore because people don't recognize it. When it's calm, they mistake chaos for chemistry. They mistake unpredictability for passion, they mistake anxiety for attraction, and healthy love doesn't feel anxious, it feels steady. But if someone's nervous system is used to chaos, steady feels boring, and boring feels wrong, so they leave something stable for something intense. And intensity fades, and the cycle repeats, and that repetition creates the illusion that love is broken. But maybe what's broken is the way people define it. Maybe love hasn't changed, maybe we have, maybe we expect too much fantasy and not enough responsibility. Maybe we want effortless depth, but depth is never effortless. It's built, maintained, protected, and protection requires discipline, and discipline isn't romanticized anymore. But without it, nothing lasts. Well, maybe love still works, but only for people who understand that it's not supposed to feel like fireworks forever. It's supposed to feel like foundation. And foundation doesn't crumble at the first sign of imperfection. It strengthens when both people decide to reinforce it. And that's the part that feels rare. Not love, but two people equally ready to treat it like something sacred instead of something optional. And until that alignment happens, yeah, it's gonna keep feeling broken. And sometimes I wonder if the reason love feels broken is because people are more afraid of vulnerability than they are of loneliness. Loneliness is uncomfortable, but vulnerability feels dangerous. Loneliness just feels empty. Vulnerability feels exposing. And exposing yourself in a world where people can replace you in days feels reckless. So instead of risking being fully seen, people present edited versions of themselves, curated personalities, controlled emotions, measured effort. And when two curated versions try to connect, the connection stays surface level, because depth only forms when masks come off. And masks are safer. Masks protect ego. Masks protect pride. Masks protect image, but masks also block intimacy, and intimacy is what makes love feel alive. Without intimacy, you're just sharing space, and shared space isn't the same as shared depth. Maybe love feels broken because nobody wants to be the first one to remove the armor. Nobody wants to be the one who says, I care, without knowing if it'll be reciprocated. Nobody wants to look foolish, but love has always required risk, and if risk tolerance is low, depth tolerance is low too, and low depth means fragile connection, and fragile connection collapses under normal human imperfection. Then everyone says, see, it didn't work, but maybe it never had the chance to, because it was protected too heavily. You can't build something strong if both people are guarding themselves more than they're investing. And that guarding energy feels everywhere now. It feels like people are in relationships half committed, half prepared to exit, always scanning, always evaluating, always calculating. And calculation kills spontaneity. It kills surrender. It kills the soft parts of love, because soft parts require trust, and trust requires time. And time requires patience, and patience feels scarce. So people rush into feelings but hesitate into commitment. They want intensity without obligation, connection without responsibility, attention without accountability. And that imbalance makes everything unstable, because love isn't just emotion. It's discipline, it's consistency when things feel normal, it's showing up when excitement fades, and showing up isn't glamorous, but it's powerful, and maybe we forgot that. Maybe we've glamorized beginnings and neglected maintenance. Maybe we've romanticized sparks and ignored structure. And when structure isn't present, collapse feels inevitable. So love starts to feel broken, not because it doesn't exist, but because it isn't being handled with care. And care requires emotional maturity. And emotional maturity isn't common, it's developed. And development requires self-awareness. And self-awareness requires reflection. And reflection requires sitting with discomfort, and a lot of people avoid discomfort at all costs. So instead of reflecting, they replace. Instead of adjusting, they exit. Instead of building, they restart. And restarting feels easier than repairing. But restarting resets the lesson too, and the cycle continues. And after watching enough cycles, it's hard not to feel like love is just temporary. Like everything eventually fades, like no one really stays. But maybe the problem isn't love. Maybe it's our attention spans. Maybe it's our tolerance for imperfection. Maybe it's our fear of being fully seen. And maybe love only works when two people are brave enough to risk looking foolish for it, brave enough to commit without constant comparison, brave enough to stay when it's not cinematic, brave enough to build when it's not exciting. And that kind of bravery feels rare, but rare doesn't mean non-existent, it just means selective. And maybe the reason love feels broken to me is because I've seen too much avoidance and not enough bravery. But that doesn't mean bravery doesn't exist, it just means I haven't experienced it consistently yet. And that's frustrating, but frustration doesn't equal impossibility. It just means the standard is high, and high standards take time to align with. So maybe love isn't broken, maybe it's just misused. And until two people approach it with equal discipline and equal depth, it's going to keep feeling unstable. But I still believe, even if it's quiet belief now, that real love requires courage. And courage isn't loud, it's consistent. And when I find someone consistent enough to stay through discomfort instead of running from it, maybe it won't feel broken anymore. Maybe it'll finally feel built. There's another truth I don't always say out loud. Sometimes when I say I don't think love works anymore, what I really mean is I'm scared to believe in it again. Because believing in it requires hope, and hope is heavy when you've watched things fall apart more than once. It's easier to say love is broken than to admit you're afraid of being hurt again. It's easier to act detached than to admit you still want something real. It's easier to lower expectations than to risk disappointment. But the reason it still frustrates me so much is because I do believe in depth, I believe in loyalty, I believe in consistency, I believe in choosing someone and actually staying. So when I look around and see temporary everywhere, it feels like I'm out of place, like I'm built for something that isn't common anymore. And that can make you feel isolated, because you start wondering if you're unrealistic, if you expect too much, if maybe you're the one who needs to adapt. But adapting to a culture that treats connection lightly feels like losing something essential. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want to become someone who loves halfway. I don't want to become someone who keeps emotional backups. I don't want to become someone who leaves at the first sign of discomfort. But when you keep getting hurt for caring deeply, you start questioning if depth is sustainable. You start questioning if maybe emotional availability is a liability. And that's where it starts to feel broken, because when emotional maturity feels like a disadvantage, something is misaligned. If being honest gets you labeled as too intense, if being consistent gets you labeled as too predictable, if being loyal gets you taken for granted, then it feels like the traits that build love aren't valued anymore, and that's exhausting. Because I don't want to play a game where detachment wins. I don't want to pretend I don't care just to maintain power. I don't want to approach relationships strategically. I want to approach them intentionally. And intentional love requires two people who are equally committed to depth, not one person building and one person browsing. Not one person healing and one person distracting, not one person fighting and one person evaluating, two people building together. And maybe that's why it feels broken, because alignment like that feels rare, not because it doesn't exist, but because it requires both people to be self-aware enough to recognize what they're building. And self-awareness takes work, and not everyone does the work. But here's something I'm slowly realizing. Just because I haven't experienced that alignment consistently doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means I haven't found someone operating at the same emotional frequency yet. And maybe love doesn't feel like it works because I've been encountering people who are still figuring themselves out, still healing, still exploring, still distracted, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if two people aren't equally ready, love will always feel unstable. So maybe love isn't broken, maybe timing is, maybe readiness is, maybe emotional maturity is, and that's a different problem than love itself. Because love, real love, still requires the same ingredients it always has: trust, patience, consistency, effort, communication, choice. Those haven't changed. What's changed is how many people are willing to commit to them long term. And that's what makes it feel fragile, but fragile doesn't mean impossible. It just means selective. And maybe the reason it feels broken is because I haven't experienced the selectivity paying off yet. So do I really think love doesn't work anymore? Or am I just tired? Tired of building with people who weren't ready? Tired of investing in connections that weren't aligned? Tired of watching things collapse because one person stopped trying? Maybe what feels broken isn't love. Maybe it's my optimism. Maybe it's my patience. Maybe it's my energy. Because loving deeply takes energy. Believing in something lasting takes courage. And after enough disappointment, courage feels heavy. But here's what I know. I don't want temporary. I don't want half effort. I don't want something that collapses the moment it feels normal. I want stability. I want intentionality. I want someone who doesn't get bored when peace replaces intensity. And if that's rare, then I'll accept that it's rare. But I won't accept that it's impossible because I know I exist. And if I exist, someone who still believes in depth and loyalty and consistency, then that means other people like that exist too. Maybe love doesn't feel like it works because it's not common anymore, but uncommon doesn't mean extinct. It just means it requires discernment. It requires patience. It requires walking away from people who treat connection casually. And maybe that's the real shift. Maybe love doesn't work when we try to force it with the wrong people. Maybe it only works when both people are equally disciplined about it. And discipline isn't flashy, but it's powerful. So maybe love isn't broken. Maybe it's just rare enough that you have to be selective about who you build it with. And until that alignment shows up, it's going to feel unstable. But I refuse to become cold just because it's hard. I refuse to downgrade my depth just because others operate shallow. And one day, when two people who both believe in building, not browsing, meet each other, love won't feel broken. It'll feel intentional. And intentional love, that still works. There's a point where saying love doesn't work anymore becomes less about love and more about self-protection. Because if I convince myself it's broken, then I don't have to risk it again. If I label it dysfunctional, I don't have to open up. If I tell myself everyone leaves, then no one can surprise me when they do. It becomes armor. And armor feels safer than hope. Hope requires vulnerability. Hope requires believing someone will show up differently than the last person did. Hope requires trusting that the next connection won't collapse the same way the others did. And that's hard, because patterns create expectations. If you've seen inconsistency enough times, you start expecting it. If you've been replaced quickly, you start bracing for it. If you've watched effort go unmatched, you start rationing yours. And slowly, without even noticing, you stop loving the way you used to. You become careful, measured, guarded. You don't say everything you feel. You don't invest as quickly. You don't attach as deeply. And then when something ends, it hurts less, but it also meant less. And that's the trade-off nobody talks about. If you protect yourself enough, you reduce pain, but you also reduce depth, and depth is the whole point. So maybe love doesn't feel like it works anymore because I've been loving defensively, not fully, not recklessly, but cautiously, and cautious love never fully blooms. It survives. It doesn't flourish. And surviving isn't the same as thriving. Maybe I'm not doubting love. Maybe I'm doubting whether I can afford to feel that deeply again, because feeling deeply means risking loss deeply, and loss has weight, and carrying that weight repeatedly makes you tired. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If I stop believing in love because others mishandled it, then I let their behavior reshape my character. And I don't want that. I don't want to become someone who loves halfway. I don't want to operate from fear. I don't want to treat every new person like they're already guilty of someone else's mistakes. But healing doesn't happen instantly. Trust doesn't reset overnight. And rebuilding optimism takes time, so maybe love isn't broken. Maybe I'm just rebuilding my trust in it. Maybe what feels like cynicism is actually exhaustion. Maybe what feels like disbelief is actually disappointment that hasn't fully healed, because when I'm honest with myself, I still want depth. I still want consistency. I still want something stable and intentional. If I truly believed love didn't work anymore, I wouldn't still crave it. I wouldn't still think about it. I wouldn't still care this much. The fact that I'm frustrated proves I still believe in it. You don't get frustrated over something you've given up on. You get frustrated over something you still want, but haven't found. And maybe that's the shift. Maybe love isn't broken. Maybe my patience is just being tested. Maybe my standards are filtering out what doesn't align. Maybe every failed connection isn't proof that love doesn't work. Maybe it's proof that misalignment doesn't. And misalignment is common, but alignment is rare. And rare things take time to find. So maybe I need to stop saying love is broken. Maybe I need to say love is selective. Maybe I haven't experienced the right version of it yet. Because the version I want, stable, mutual, disciplined, requires two people equally committed to depth. And depth isn't everywhere. But it exists, I exist, which means someone else like me exists too. And maybe love doesn't feel like it works because I've been encountering people at different stages of emotional maturity, different levels of readiness, different levels of self-awareness, and that doesn't mean love is dead. It just means timing matters, and readiness matters, and alignment matters. So yeah, some days it feels broken, some days it feels like effort goes nowhere. Some days it feels like loyalty isn't valued, but deep down, I don't think love stopped working. I think I'm just tired of building with people who weren't built to stay. And that's different, because when two people are both ready, not just interested, not just attracted, but ready, love doesn't collapse easily. It stabilizes, it deepens, it roots. So maybe love isn't broken. Maybe it just requires the right two people at the right time. And until that alignment shows up, it's going to feel unstable. But I'm not done believing in it. I'm just more careful about who I build it with. And that's growth, not defeat. I didn't walk into this guarded. I didn't play games. I didn't keep one foot out the door. I trusted you. I trusted your words. I trusted the way you looked at me like I was safe. I trusted the version of you showed me when it was just us. And that's what hurts the most. Not that you left, but that you let me believe you wouldn't. I opened up in ways I don't do often. I told you things I never say out loud. I let myself feel comfortable being soft around you, and you watched me do that. You knew how much it meant. You knew how careful I was with my heart, and you still broke it. Not all at once, not dramatically, slowly. You pulled back without explanation. You changed without warning. You stopped choosing me, but kept me close enough to not fully let go. And I stayed longer than I should have because I believed in the version of you I first met. That's on me. I ignored the signs. I excused the distance. I told myself you were just overwhelmed, just busy, just figuring things out. But the truth is, you were figuring out life without me, and I was still holding space for you, like you were coming back. What really broke me wasn't losing you. It was realizing I trusted someone who didn't protect my heart the way I protected theirs. You didn't just hurt me, you changed how I trust. Now I question things I never used to. I hesitate where I used to be open. I hold back where I used to give freely, not because I'm bitter, but because I learned the hard way that not everyone deserves access to me. I don't regret loving you. I regret trusting you with something you weren't ready to hold. And that's the part I'm still healing from. Not the heartbreak, but the betrayal of believing you were different. What messed me up the most was how easy it was for you, how easily you switched up, how quickly I became optional, how natural it felt for you to move on like nothing happened. Meanwhile, I was still trying to understand when things changed. I kept replaying conversations, looking for the moment where I messed it up, where I said too much, where I trusted too fast, because that's what you do when someone breaks your heart quietly. You don't get closure, you get questions. And the hardest one is always the same. How could you do this after everything I trusted you with? You knew my past. You knew how careful I was. You knew how long it took me to open up again. And instead of protecting that, you treated it like something temporary, like something you could step into and walk away from without consequences. I wasn't perfect, but I was honest. I didn't hide how I felt. I didn't pretend. I didn't keep you guessing. And that's why it hurt deeper. Because I didn't lose you to dishonesty. I lost you to indifference, to the realization that I mattered more to myself than I ever did to you. And that's a hard thing to swallow when you trusted someone with your heart. After you broke my heart, it didn't just hurt, it rewired me. I didn't notice it right away. At first it was just silence, just heaviness, just missing you more than I wanted to admit. But then it showed up in how I loved. I stopped being as open, stopped saying things the moment I felt them, stopped assuming good intentions, not because I wanted to, but because trust didn't feel safe anymore. Before you, I believed if I was honest, I'd be met with honesty. If I was loyal, I'd be protected. If I trusted someone, they'd respect that. You broke that belief. Now every connection comes with hesitation. Every feeling comes with a pause. Every time someone gets close, a part of me wonders how long before they leave too. And that's the part that hurts quietly. You didn't just walk away. You made me doubt the version of myself that loved without fear. I catch myself holding back even when I don't want to. I catch myself preparing for loss before anything even begins, because trusting you taught me how much it costs when it goes wrong, and I hate that. I hate that your actions made softness feel like a liability, that honesty now feels risky, that love feels like something I have to guard instead of give. I'm not colder, I'm not heartless, I'm just more careful with a heart you proved can be broken even when it's given genuinely, and that's something I'm still learning how to undo. The anger didn't come right away. At first I blamed myself for trusting too fast, or believing too much, or not seeing it sooner. But anger shows up when the fog finally clears, when you realize you didn't ask for too much, you just asked the wrong person. I wasn't wrong for trusting you. I wasn't weak for opening up. I wasn't naive for believing your words. You just didn't deserve the level of honesty I gave you. And that truth stings, because it means the pain wasn't a lesson about loving better. It was a lesson about choosing better. You knew what you were doing. You knew how much I cared. You knew how much trust cost me. And you still chose yourself without considering the damage. That's where the anger lives, not in hatred, but in clarity. In the realization that I gave real effort to someone who treated it casually, that I showed up while you slowly checked out, that I protected your feelings while you ignored mine, and I don't hate you for leaving. I'm angry because you stayed long enough to earn my trust and left like it never mattered. That kind of hurt doesn't make you loud, it makes you precise. It teaches you that love without accountability isn't love at all. And from that point on, I stopped questioning my worth and started questioning why I ever doubted it. At some point, I stopped waiting for closure from you. Not because I got answers, but because I realized I wasn't going to. You never explained yourself, never owned the hurt, never acknowledged what it cost me to trust you, and for a while that ate at me. I wanted you to see it, to understand what you broke, to to say something that made it make sense, but silence was the answer. Not the one I wanted, the one I needed, because it showed me that the kind of closure I was looking for was never coming from you, so I had to give it to myself. I had to accept that some people don't leave loudly. They leave by slowly caring less and letting you figure it out alone. I had to accept that trusting you wasn't the mistake, expecting accountability from you was, and that acceptance was heavier than anger ever was, because it meant letting go without resolution, without apologies, without the comfort of being understood, just truth, the truth that I loved honestly, the truth that I trusted genuinely, the truth that you didn't meet me there. And as painful as that is, it also freed me, because I stopped replaying the past trying to fix something that was never mine to fix. I stopped waiting for you to validate my pain. I didn't need your explanation to know I was hurt. I didn't need your apology to know I deserved better. Sometimes closure isn't a conversation. Sometimes it's the moment you stop giving someone access to a heart they already proved they wouldn't protect. After everything fell apart, the hardest thing wasn't trusting someone new. It was trusting myself again, trusting that my instincts weren't broken, trusting that my heart wasn't a liability, trusting that loving you didn't mean there was something wrong with me. Because when someone breaks your heart like that, you don't just lose them, you lose confidence in your judgment. You start second-guessing everything. Was I blind? Was I too much? Did I imagine the connection? And for a while I believed the problem had to be me. But slowly that started to change. I realized something important. I didn't ignore red flags. There weren't clear ones at the beginning. You showed up. You said the right things. You made me feel safe enough to trust. That wasn't stupidity. That was honesty. So instead of punishing myself for believing in you, I started respecting myself for how genuine I was. I stopped calling my openness a mistake, stopped treating my softness like a flaw, stopped blaming myself for someone else's inability to show up. Rebuilding trust meant accepting this truth. I didn't fail myself by trusting you. I honored who I am. And that matters, because if I harden completely, if I shut down every part of me that still wants connection, then the heartbreak wins twice. So I'm learning balance. I don't rush trust anymore, but I don't deny it either. I don't hand my heart over blindly, but I don't lock it away. I listen to myself now, to discomfort, to patterns, to silence that says more than words ever did. Trust isn't gone, it's just more intentional. And this time, the first person I trust is me. Missing you doesn't mean I want you back. That took me a while to understand, because grief doesn't disappear just because you know someone wasn't right for you. Longing doesn't mean regret, and sadness doesn't cancel clarity. I miss the version of you I thought was real. I miss the safety I felt before things changed. I miss how easy it was before trust turned into doubt, but I don't miss the anxiety. I don't miss questioning where I stood. I don't miss feeling like I cared more. And that's the difference. If I wanted you back, I'd still be making excuses for you. I'd still be minimizing the hurt. I'd still be hoping you'd come back different. But I'm not. I just haven't rushed myself through the grief. Because when you trust someone deeply, losing them isn't just losing a person, it's losing a future you believed in. And that takes time to let go of. Some days I'm fine. Some days a memory hits out of nowhere, a song, a place, a random thought, and I let it pass. I don't fight it. I don't romanticize it. I don't pretend I'm over it faster than I am. Healing isn't about erasing what mattered. It's about accepting that something can matter and still not belong in your life anymore. So, yeah. I miss you sometimes, but missing you doesn't mean I forgot why I walked away. Heartbreak taught me patience in a way nothing else ever did. Not patience with people, patience with myself. I learned that healing isn't something you rush just to prove you're okay. It's not about jumping into something new to replace what you lost. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt, because it did, and pretending only buries it deeper. I stopped forcing myself to move on other people's timelines. Stopped letting anyone tell me I should be over it by now. You don't rush the healing of something you trusted. You let it take the time it takes. Some days I feel strong, other days I feel fragile for no reason, and instead of judging that, I let it exist because every emotion I avoid just shows up later heavier. Patience taught me this. You don't heal by replacing someone, you heal by understanding why losing them hurt the way it did. I trusted you. That wasn't small, that wasn't casual, so yeah. It takes time to rebuild the parts of me that believed safety could be permanent, but I'd rather heal slowly and honestly than rush into numbness and call it strength. I'm not behind, I'm not weak, I'm not stuck. I'm just respecting the fact that real trust doesn't break quietly, and it doesn't heal quickly either, and that's okay. Forgiveness didn't come in the way people talk about it. I didn't wake up one day suddenly okay with what you did. I didn't excuse it. I didn't rewrite the story to make it hurt less. What I had to forgive was myself for trusting you, for believing your words, for opening my heart when I knew how badly it could go wrong. For a long time, I was harder on myself than I ever was on you. I kept thinking I should have known better. I should have seen it coming. I should have protected myself more. But that thinking only added another layer of pain, because loving honestly was never the mistake. I didn't betray myself by trusting you. I honored who I am. I showed up real. I was present. I was vulnerable in a world that tells people not to be. And yeah, that made the heartbreak deeper. But it also means nothing about my love was fake. Forgiving myself meant accepting this. I didn't lose because I trusted. I lost because someone couldn't meet me at the level I was willing to give. And that's not something I need to punish myself for. So I stopped replaying the past, looking for a version of me that could have avoided the hurt. There wasn't one. Sometimes pain isn't a warning you missed. Sometimes it's just the cost of being genuine with the wrong person. And once I understood that, the shame started to loosen its grip. I could carry the memory without carrying the blame. Trusting you taught me something I never wanted to learn this way. That love can be real and still not last. That intentions can be genuine and still fall apart. That opening your heart doesn't guarantee someone will protect it, but it also taught me something else, something important. I learned that the way I love isn't the problem. I didn't lose myself by trusting you. I didn't fail because I believed in us. I didn't weaken myself by being honest. I showed up as who I am, and that matters. You broke my heart, but you didn't break my ability to love. You shook my trust, but you didn't erase my values. You hurt me, but you didn't define me. What you really did was show me the difference between someone who feels safe and someone who actually is, between words and consistency, between effort and presence, between connection and commitment. I won't forget you, not because I want you back, but because you were a chapter that taught me how deeply I can feel. And next time, I won't give that depth to someone who treats it casually. I'll trust again, just not blindly. I'll love again, just not at the cost of myself. You didn't ruin love for me. You clarified it. And even though the heartbreak hurt, I walk away knowing this. I was real. I was honest. I was brave enough to trust. And one day someone will meet that trust care it deserves. Until then, I carry the lesson, not the wound. That's where this ends.